Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. How we doing today? Can everybody hear me okay? I hope everyone is having a great day so far. It's going pretty well for me. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Well, we got a really fun project tonight. I'm super excited about it. We're gonna be doing a lot of stuff that just a month or two ago it would have felt completely impossible. Like, how could we even do that? Who knows how to do that kind of thing? But we are going to be doing it tonight, and fairly easily, I might add. So super excited. Oh, good to see you, Akai Berry. Yes, I am having a good day. Pretty busy, but that's okay. Good to see you, Brooke. Hey, Coder Mel. Oh, thank you for the bits, Intelligence. It's awesome. I'm going to change my audio settings so I can actually hear the alerts. That should do it. Hey, Traylon, welcome. Thanks for joining. Brooke, so excited to wield the power. Indeed, we are going to wield the power. We're going to wield the power of full stack. And I have 35 seconds to figure out why my Steam is orange. Steam icon is orange. What are you doing, Steam? Come on. Stop it. Still orange. Go away. There we go. Yeah, Kanana, do exclamation point YouTube in chat. Yeah, Steam's like, want to update for the 10th time today? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Kanana, do exclamation point YouTube. Yeah, there you go. Now it'll give you my YouTube channel. That's where all my videos end up. All right, here we go, folks. Welcome, welcome. I'm happy to see you all. Yeah, so this is what we're building today. It's going to be pretty cool. It is a field guide to aliens in the Star Trek universe. So I don't know is anybody else out there a Star Trek fan? Because I certainly am. Anybody else like Star Trek? I feel like it's made a resurgence in the last few years. Yeah, yeah. So essentially what this is for is Chad, great. That's awesome to see. So essentially what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be acting like we are Starfleet, and we want to help our our folks out on away missions to make sure that when they encounter an alien species, they can look them up real quick and get some good facts about them. How you grew up on Star Trek. So yeah, we're going to build the backend API that's going to serve up this information, and then we're going to build an app, a whole separate app to actually fetch the API and then display that information. So for example, if I were to type in Vulcans, right? Classic. And I say get info, it takes a minute. There we go. So now what we get back is that's why you've been having Obi-Wan hands. So we get back their name, species name. We get back their home world. We get back some distinguishing features, which is pointed ears, upward curving eyebrows, to help you figure out, okay, if I've encountered this species, are they Vulcans? So it's just by looking at them, and then some facts about them. They're very emotionally regulated. They focus on logic, and the Vulcan that pioneered this practice was named Surak. And then some notable examples are Spock, T'Pol, and Sarek, who's Spock's dad. Yeah. But yeah, so this is what we're building today. The styling is just something that's really cool that I found, and I want to give a massive shout out to the person who created this template. This is the Lcars template, which is Lcars is the sort of the layout of all the computer screens in Star Trek. They all kind of look similar from Next Generation kind of onward. They have a similar look, and that was designed by um, uh, someone named Mike Okuda, I think was his name. But anyway, someone has made a web template to mimic that look, and I just think it's amazing, and it's free to download. And so I'm just going to give them a real quick shout out, and then we'll actually get into the project. But I think it's worth shouting them out. If you want to get this template for yourself to use, you can go to www.thelcars.com. It was made by one person, and it's absolutely incredible. And you can also hit them up on Twitter, give them a follow. They are Trekkie Jim on Twitter. So if you want to look them up on Twitter, they're pretty cool. What? Belzavaba? What are you doing? Oh man, we got Belzavaba. We got a raid from Vero. What is happening? This is awesome. Thank you so much. Welcome in, folks. Welcome in. We're just showing off what we are going to be doing tonight. Yes, it is a field guide to aliens set in the Star Trek universe. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And thank you, and Belzavaba, thank you so much for the gifted subs. I'm seeing some familiar names there on some folks who have received subs, so that's awesome. Yes, thank you so much. That's so much appreciated. Oh, and also too, real quick, I want to thank Shogo Magishimax, sorry. They subscribed between streams, and Deep Fried Penguin subscribed for 6 months. So thank you so much to both of you as well. Yes. So thank you for all the subs. That really, I really appreciate it so much. Thank you. All right, so this is what we're building tonight. It is a Federation field guide to aliens, and what it does is you can type in the name of, oh, thank you, Intelligence. You can type in the name of a Star Trek sort of alien species, including humans. If we type in humans, we get something back from there as well. And we say get info, and what we get back is we get back the name, we get back the homeworld, distinguishing features, and some interesting facts and some notable examples. Now, this isn't necessarily different than something that we've done before. We've done stuff like this before, but the interesting thing is that we are going to be building the API first, and then we're going to be building this app that's going to hit that API. So that's the new thing that we're learning today. Yeah. Hey, Pink Star, welcome. All right, so let's get into it. So on Tuesday in class, we talked about essentially how we can sort of play both sides of the house, right? We can build an API, or have a server that's sort of serving up data for us, and then we can also build an app that can then fetch that data. And then we also, very briefly, in like the last 20 minutes of class or so, we talked about hosting APIs, or hosting. Whoop, sorry, my camera just fell off my monitor. Dang, my setup is pretty janky. Ah, stay. Sorry about that. I dropped you. I know. I'm sorry. We'll see if that stays. I might have to put more tape on it. I don't know. If it falls again, I might have to. I'll tape it back up. Rip. I know. But yeah, so we talked, about that, and we talked about hosting on Heroku. And Leon kind of gave us the instructions on how to do that, but we went through it really quick, like in class, right? We didn't spend a lot of time on it. So tonight we're going to do that again, maybe a little more slowly, and talk about some of the things that you got to do in order to get Heroku set up and working. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. Chris says, my rig is held together with zip ties and Elmer's glue. That's awesome. Yeah, the monitor that you are seeing right now is currently sitting on a Tupperware container full of like old tax forms and about 3 books. So yeah, it's high-tech stuff. All right. Yeah, it is a cool effect, isn't it? Yeah. I didn't, I shared the link to that earlier, and I'll share it again later on where we got this template. But okay, let's go. So we're going to go ahead, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of separate things in class. We did things kind of together. We built the server side code, and then in the same folder, like in the same folder, we had the app side code. And for me, anyway, it was a little bit confusing trying to figure out, okay, like what's the server side stuff, like what's the app side stuff, how does this actually work. So we're going to build them separately. So I've already created a folder for this, and I'm going to open up a new VS Code window. And you're welcome to code along. If you want to do !GitHub, the finished code is already in 2 repos in my GitHub. I have one that's called Star Trek API, and then another one that's called Star Trek Client, I think. So the API is the API, the client is the app. This brings you back to your terrible attempts at Lcars. Yeah, it's hard. This person that made this is like the coolest. I love it so much. You don't even remember Heroku? Might have, yeah. It was in like the last 20 minutes of class, and we'd already gone over by like half an hour. And so Leon was booking it, just trying to get through everything. So we're gonna slow it down a little bit. Okay, new window. And I'm going to go ahead and open a folder that I'm going to have ready for this. And documents and API demo. And there's nothing in here right now, but we're going to kind of start from scratch on this. So should we go ahead and make a Heroku account if we haven't already? Yes. You're going to want to go ahead and make a Heroku account. And when we get there, we're also going to want to make sure that we've downloaded the client, the command line interface client, because that's what Leon is having us use to deploy these things to Heroku. So we'll get there in a little bit as far as downloading the client. But if you want to go ahead and set up a Heroku account now, if you haven't already, that's probably a good idea. Yeah. And just do the, and we need to have one by Thursday anyway. So you might as well, right? Might as well do it now. Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, since we're starting with the API, with the server side stuff. I'm going to go ahead and just make a couple files here. I'm going to make one that's called server.js. I'm going to make this bigger. Actually, that's kind of small. I'm going to make a server.js, and I'm also going to make an index.html. Okay. And if we're going to be running a server, right? There's a few things that we're going to need. We're going to be relying on Node to make this server work and interface with our files and everything, right? And as far as, is Heroku better than Netlify? I don't know. I'm just using what we're being told to use, because I figure if he's telling us to use it, it's for a reason, right? And I actually have seen a lot of things hosted on Heroku. And is there a reason I don't use Touch Server.js? Well, I'm not on a Mac, for one thing. And I know there's certain commands that just don't work. And also, I'm not using like a Linux command line interface or anything like that. So there's certain things that just don't work. And so this is the way I'm just used to doing it. However, you're welcome to do it in whatever way works for you. I think, we shouldn't, when we're talking about things like creating files and folders, I don't think you should get too hung up on the methods that you're doing it. As long as you're able to create them. It's important to just be able to get started, right? Yeah. So Heroku is going to be hosting the server-side code and like the little API that we're building today. Yeah. So it's going to be hosting it so that anybody could access it. So a lot of the times, like when we're running like a local server in Node, it's just for us, right? Like, you couldn't come and access my local server. That's local. But if I'm hosting it on Heroku, then anybody can hit that API and get data out of it, no matter where they are in the world. Yeah. The only files that have been created are an empty index and an empty file called server.js. They're right here. Those are the only two we're going to need for the moment. And then we're going to use we're going to start using the terminal a little bit. So let's go ahead and open the terminal as well. Open a new terminal window. And you can use whatever terminal you normally use. This just defaults to PowerShell, but I'm going to be switching it here in a little bit anyway. So, hey, Sky Lily, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so if I want to use Node to create a server, but I want to make that connection process easier than just using vanilla Node, what do I need? What do I need to do that? Don't worry, I'm going to be switching off of PowerShell here in a little bit. I can do it now. I can switch now. What do I need? So if I'm creating a server, yeah, and I don't want to go through all the manual, URL stuff, what do I do? Mm, what can I require in my code? Yeah, Express, right? Yeah, we can go ahead and add Express. Now, can I just say const Express equals require Express? Can I do that? Yeah, right. We need to install it first. And so I'm assuming that everybody here already has Node. If you don't have Node, immediately close this stream and go back to my VOD from a couple weeks ago where we install Node together. So go back and do that if you don't have Node, because you won't be able to participate otherwise. Yes, exactly. Yep, everybody's got the idea. We need to go ahead and install Node first. So what's the first thing that I need to do? So I need to do npm, right, which is my package manager. And I need to initialize that package manager. So yes, exactly. So I need to do npm init, right? I need to initialize it first. What that's going to do is it is going to, and also too, so when you first start it up, it's going to give you a bunch of like options and things, and you can just go ahead and hit enter through these for now. It's okay. Yes. All right. Now, notice up here in the top left, right? It's created a package JSON file. Okay. And there's a bunch of stuff in here. We don't have to worry about it too much. But what this is going to do, it's going to help us manage our dependencies. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, and some folks are given maybe a shortcut there that would cut through that. Those extra things you got to hit enter through. I'll try that for next time. All right. And so now that we've initialized our package manager, now we can go ahead and say npm. Now I can either say I or install. I'm going to type it out for now. npm install express. There we go. And it just did a little thing there, and now it's installed. So now if I look inside of my package.json file, I can see that it has installed Express as a dependency. Yeah. Now, so piece of shoot, I've been told that save is no longer required. And so I'm kind of testing that. I tested that earlier when I built the first version of this app, and it seemed to work just fine. So apparently that may be a newer thing. Yeah, save is not required anymore. It used to be, I think, probably until very recently, because Leon is still doing it. But yeah, so it auto saves now. You don't have to do -- save. Yeah, which I think is cool. Okay, so now we have Express. And so now our little require Express is actually going to work. Yeah. All right. So we can also now, just as a convention thing, like Leon mentioned, after we've said require Express, so our code is going to require Express, we can say const app equals Express. So now whenever we type app and then a method, we will be essentially saying, hey, this is a method that belongs to Express. Yeah. Okay, const app express. And also too, one thing at the very end of the stream, it could have been blink and you might have missed it. one thing that Leon discovered was that he was having issues with cores. And I think a lot of us have issues with cores when we try to hit an API, right? But we can manage that as well. We can also install cores. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't know if it's strictly necessary, but there's no harm in it. So we're going to go ahead and do npm install cores, CORS. Okay. Panzer, yeah, if you're not familiar with JavaScript, yeah, semicolons are optional. I think technically they're best practice, but I'm not a best practice kind of person necessarily. My code is pretty sloppy sometimes. So, yeah, we've gone ahead and so there we've installed cores. And if we look back at our package JSON, you'll see that cores has also been installed. And this will just help us prevent any of those sorts of like errors later on. That Leon discovered last night. Defrag that previous brain space. Yeah. Okay. And so now we can also require cores. So we can say const cores equal require cores. There we go. And now this next thing is not we're gonna be Tinas today. Yeah, exactly. Just that's what we're doing today, right? Like we learned this new thing yesterday and we're already doing stuff with it. That, there's no way we can comprehend everything we're doing, but are we gonna use it? Hell yeah. We're gonna throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. That's the fun part of being a dev, is just saying like, hey, this looks cool. I don't really know what it does, but I'm gonna use it anyway, and then see what happens. That's the funnest part for me anyway. Yeah. All right. So the next thing we're doing is just something that I get the feeling, just the way that Leon sounded when he said it. He was like, you should make your port into a variable. And so I'm like, all right, sure, we'll do that, and we'll just use port 8000. It doesn't really matter what you use, but we'll use 8000. JSON package didn't download for you. Sorry, what do you? Oh, did you do npm install express, or did you do npm install JSON? You need to do npm install express. And so first do npm init init, and then npm install express. Yeah. Okay. Now, the last thing we need to do for cores is just tell Express to use it. So for that, we can just do app.use cores, and that'll say, hey, Express, use cores if you need it. So that takes care of that. In it to win it. Yeah. Yeah, we're not doing a global install here because I don't think it's very good practice. We're just going to be initializing Express on a per sort of a per project basis as we need it. There's nothing stopping you from installing it globally, but it just seems I've just not seen that recommended anywhere, so I'm not going to do it. But it's good practice, right? Oh, and sorry, that's a good catch somebody had. For the require cores, I need to have that as a string. I apologize. There we go. That'll do it. Okay. All right. So now we've got our basic stuff, like our basic requirements met. And so now we're going to actually build the meat and potatoes of what our server is going to be doing. And so what our server is going to be doing is essentially handling requests from our app, right? And if you recall, we have that CRUD acronym. We have that create, read, update, and delete. And for this particular little API that we're doing, we're really just going to be having read requests. We're not going to be we're not going to be trying to update or delete anything really, or even create anything. We're just going to be having, building sort of a dictionary for our app to fetch from to display some data. So we're not going to make it too complicated tonight. Like I said, we just learned about this yesterday, right? For real, we just learned about it yesterday. So we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it accessible. All right. And so let's see, I'm catching up here on chat. Yeah, make sure your terminal is in the right directory. So the nice thing about using terminal within VS Code is that it does put you into the proper folder kind of by default. So you don't have to CD into it and potentially end up in the wrong place, right? Like I made this folder Star Trek API demo and it puts me in there automatically. So that's kind of nice. So that's why kind of, I like using the terminal in VS Code for that reason. Um, you accidentally put your JSON file in your CodeWars directory. Whoops. You actually install node mod since you figure you use it often. Yeah. I mean, you can. The one concern with that is potentially like if you get too dependent on it, um, you might forget like how to manually stop and start a server and refresh it and do all those things that could come back to bite you in a job interview. But hey, I don't know, I don't know your situation. You might be just fine without it. But I know for me, like just even having a live server has spoiled me a little bit as far as forgetting to save or forgetting to refresh and that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, we're not going to use NodeMon tonight either. There's nothing wrong with using NodeMon. We're just going to keep it manual tonight because we're going to be hosting this thing anyway. So okay, so let's keep going. So now we can actually think about what content we want to have. So in this, we aren't using, I get the feeling on Thursday, we're probably going to add MongoDB into the mix as like our database. And then we're going to have a middleman, kind of Heroku be our middleman. But for now, we're going to kind of hard code our API values inside of our server.js file. So I'm going to have a sort of like a dictionary called sort of a large object called aliens. So we're going to say const aliens, and we're going to have a bunch of stuff in there. We're going to have a bunch of smaller objects that are going to sit inside of this single alien object. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Hey, Jabalicious, welcome. No, we did install cores. I'm sorry if you missed that. See right here? npm install cores. Yeah. So we did do that. So don't forget to do that. And check, you can always check your package.json file to see what you've already installed if you don't remember whether you've installed it. Yeah, npm install cores. Yeah, thanks Executress, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna skip what's gonna be in there for now, and we're gonna go down and we gotta do up the rest of the wiring first to make sure that our our API is gonna be able to actually deliver the goods. All right. So if I want my API to be able to handle, essentially, if I want my API to be able to handle read requests from an app or some outside client, what express method can I use? If a client sends, let's say, a request for the homepage, what express method could I use to sort of figure out what to do? Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Yeah, I got a little frog in my throat there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get potato coming in there with that first time chat. Right answer. Good job. I love it when the first time chatters come in and just like crush that right answer. Because most of the times they do, and you can tell they've been waiting, they've been biding their time for the right moment for that first time chat. So it's awesome. Yeah. And so we're gonna use app.get because remember we set app equal to express earlier, right? So this is a method that's associated with express. Now, if my client is sending a request for a homepage of some kind, for example, like my index.html, what is that request going to look like? What should my server interpret as? Hey, this is the home. This client wants the homepage. Super mug, yeah, it's massive, and I love it. I have 2 of them. Yeah, / right? Okay, so if my API sees a /, then says, oh yeah, okay, I should deliver the homepage or the index.html if that comes through. So and then Git has a couple of parameters here. We're gonna have 2 parameters here. What are they gonna be? Both start with R. What are the two R's? Yes, rec and res, and what do those stand for? I know I'm quizzing you hard, but I feel like we're gonna really want to have these concepts in our brain so we can just bust them out. Yeah, yeah. Request and response, right? Okay, so I'm gonna type them out. You can absolutely do that. You can absolutely abbreviate them if you want. Um, you do not have to type them out. This is just what I'm doing. I'll probably do both, just in various projects that I build just to get familiar with both and recognize them immediately. All right. So if an app says, hey, I want the homepage, give me index.html, please. I want to pitch that fastball back at them. And so that is going to be in the form of a response, right? And if I want to send a file back to the client that requested it, what can I use? Response dot send file. Yeah, exactly. It makes so much sense, doesn't it? Send file. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to grab that file from my current location. So I can use dir name or directory name. And I can essentially just say, hey, directory name, and append index.html on that. Oops, sorry, forgot the slash. Index.html. Okay, and what that's going to do is says, hey, if a client sends a request for the home page, I want you to just go ahead and pitch back the index.html file that is right here in the same location, essentially. Yeah, dir name index.html. Okay, and that's all we need to do for that. So fairly basic request there. However, that's not really the purpose of this, right? The purpose of this API is not to serve up a bunch of HTML. We want it to essentially send back a bunch of JSON, right? We want JSON data out of our API, not a static HTML page. That's not what we're here for. So in that case, we're going to have another GET request, app.get, and this time, and this is configurable too, right? We can control what type of URL is going to tell what type of URL is going to trigger our server to send back this API information. Oh, hydrate again. Thank you. My throat is scratchy. I don't know what's going on. I just had a cup of tea and now I'm on my third. So who knows, man. Hey, Jim Thick, welcome. I'm a Dunkia. I love it. Hydrate yourself. Yeah. Einstein, welcome. Okay. So our second GET request is going to be when we want API data back, when we want JSON back. So for that, we're going to essentially say, all right, on the end of our URL, it's going to be something about API. And then we can control the parameter that the user is submitting in order to get certain data back. So in this case, what I want is, if we go back to our app here real quick, if we go back to our app, I want the user to be able to type in a name of an alien species. Oops. I guess it doesn't matter. Vulcans. And get that info by typing that in. So that's what's going to be appended onto our URL. Oh, Jim F. Why would we say? Okay, I'll call you Jim. Thanks for clarifying. All right, so in that case, the parameter is that I'm going to be appending on the end of the URL, or the user is going to be appending on the end of the URL, is going to be, I'm going to call it alien name. And express, and so, if you've messed around with APIs before, you may have had to mess with, putting in question marks and ampersands to try to parse the URL and format it in a way that the API can recognize. But the cool thing is that Express can handle that for us. So we don't have to worry about any of that. We just use a colon here to say, hey, Express, this is going to be a parameter, okay? So, treat it as such. So that's all we really need to do there. We can just say colon alien name. And Then again, we're going to have request and response after that, because it's the same format of the GET request. So I'm just going to copy this, request response, and I'm going to need my closing there as well. Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, the colon is what's cluing express in to how this is formatted. Yeah. Okay. So in this case, then I can essentially extract the details of that parameter by saying request dot params for parameters dot alien name. Okay, that's going to pull it out of that URL. But I'm also going to add just a little bit of error hand or sanitizing here, and I'm going to say to lowercase. So if they put it in uppercase, I want to just go ahead and lowercase it. I want to get rid of any capitals that might cause us problems. So we're just going to do that. And then this is kind of long, right? Like this whole chained method thing here is kind of long. So I'm going to assign this to a variable to make it a little bit more manageable. So in this case, I'm going to say const aliens name equals that whole nonsense. If we put rec res, should we write res dot send file? Yes. Yep. Because remember, these are just like with any function, these are parameters. And so you can call them whatever you want, but you have to be consistent when you try to use them later. Yeah, exactly. No, but you're on the right track, Dev Dipper. Mm-hmm. Dumpster, how would we write multiple parameters in a single URL, just more colons? I'm not 100% sure on that. We actually haven't done that yet. That might be a fun thing to try and mess around with in your version to see what happens. Yeah. Okay. So what have we done here? We've essentially reduced this whole long string of chains down to a single variable, which we're then going to apply. So now what we want to do is eventually once we have this dictionary of aliens all filled out, we want to grab the name of the species that the user has requested, look through our little dictionary of aliens, and return the one that was picked. And if it doesn't exist, then maybe we want to have some sort of a default value. Hey, good evening, Ryan. How are you? So in this case, we can just use a very simple if statement to check and see if our alien name is inside of our alien object. Chrysanta go, oh, I have to jump off, but I really, really don't want to. We'll have to watch the VOD. That's fine. That's why the VOD is there. Don't worry about it. Please explain what CORS does again. I can't remember. So CORS, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure Rascal would be able to explain it in approximately 3 seconds. But so last night when Leon was doing this, he was having trouble when he was trying to essentially like access his own server from his own, like he had his own server and he has his own app, and he was having trouble trying to access that. And it has something to do with that. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm just installing it preemptively. Panzer, we are going to get there in just a hot minute. Don't you worry. No worry at all. How important is dir name? Is that just the best practice? Well, I mean, it's easier than typing out the entire directory name, right? I mean, you could copy and paste your whole path in here if you really wanted to, or you could just do this and have it be a lot faster. Okay, so we're gonna check and see if we can find alien's name inside of our aliens object that we're going to build here in a minute. So if I want to check and see whether a specific key can be found inside of a specific object, what's a way that I could do that? And sorry, what's a way that I could essentially see if that's if it's true or false? Essentially, it's in there or it isn't. Yeah, really, Zainab got it. Object bracket notation key, right? So I can say, hey, inside of the aliens object, look and see if alien's name is in there. All right. And if I have an if statement and I don't say, and I don't give any other sort of any more equation or parameters here, it's just going to evaluate this as either a Boolean. It's going to be true or false, right? It's going to say, all right, if alien's name is inside of our alien object, then true and execute the if statement. And if it's not, then false and skip out of it. Yeah, it's truthy, right? Right. Okay. So if it is in there, then what we want to do is we want to return the JSON that contains the information about that alien species. Okay. How do you get what you type highlighted in the terminal? Oh, so you mean like this? Yeah. So in the VS Code terminal, I can drag my mouse over it and it'll highlight. Like if I was just using command line, I don't think it would let me do that. But in the VS Code terminal, I can. Yeah. Okay, so in here, I want to return some JSON. So what would be an easy way that Express lets me do that? So it's going to be, obviously it's going to be some kind of a response, right? Response dot what? Yeah. Express makes it that easy, right? We can just say, yeah, Express, send that back as JSON, would you? Yeah. Yeah. Isn't Express easy? Doesn't it? It just knows. It knows what we're thinking, right? How cool is that? Yeah. All right. So in that case, if aliens name is inside of aliens, then I want to just basically send back whatever that is, whatever that response is. All right. So that's what it's going to send back. If it's not, I do want to have some kind of a default. So if it can't find whatever you type in, I think I'm just going to have it send back whatever the entry for humans, right? Because it seems like in the world of Star Trek that if they're not some kind of an alien species, they're like 80% of the people in the Star Trek universe are humans, or at least they look that way, right? So probably a safe bet. If you can't find it in the database, it's going to be a human. So we'll send that back. It just seems like there's a lot of humans in the Star Trek universe. And we must really be fruitful and multiply in the future. Yeah. So in that case, if we can't find it, just when in doubt, send back info on humans because it's going to be a human. All right. So aliens, and we're going to have an entry for humans once we build this out a little bit. Humans. There we go. Yeah, human or humanoid, exactly, right? We're parasites, we take over. Yeah, sure. As soon as we get actual interplanetary travel, I think we're gonna be a virus, man. We're gonna be everywhere. It's not gonna be good. Govinter, yes, you can use rec and res. Instead, you could use bacon and eggs if you wanted. I mean, it's just expecting two parameters here. It doesn't really care what they are. Rec and res or request and response makes sense and they help us know what they're doing, but they're just parameters, right? Okay. So when in doubt, we send back humans. Perfect. And then the last thing we need to do is kind of initialize, tell our server where to initialize, give it a port. So if I want to do that, what method can I use? So it'll be app dot something. What do I use to start up that port? Cheaper for the production company. Yeah. If you ever watch the original series, Star Trek, the original series, you know, the Klingons, the big scary ridgy forehead guys, in the original series, they couldn't afford makeup like that, so they just had the facial hair, the beards and stuff. They didn't have the foreheady ridges, so that was actually written into like the canon to so that they lost their ridges for a little while in like the 2100s, and then got them back about 100 years later. So I thought that was pretty funny. They explained away the lack of budget in the original series. It's just sort of a little blip on the road for the Klingons. Yeah, app.listen, exactly. I apologize. I'm probably going to be spouting Star Trek facts off and on. I physically cannot help it. Been watching it since I was 11. All right. So in that case, we are going to go ahead and do what who was it? Sorry. What somebody mentioned earlier about the port thing. Scrolling back up to give them credit. Panzer, that's right. Yeah, Panzer mentioned it earlier. We are going to do that. Yep. Yeah, we're going to set up process for Heroku. We're going to set up process, environment, port, or so in this case, that's gonna allow Heroku. So remember, we declared a variable called port earlier, and we set it to 8,000, right? But if for some reason that's not available, I believe what this does is it says, okay, Heroku, you can pick a better port if you want to. You don't got to use 8,000. Just do go with what you feel. So that's going to give some flexibility for Heroku if they need it. All right. So in that case, that's just a little flexibility there, and sorry, oops. Yeah, bracket there. And in that case, the last thing we're going to do on this listen function is we are just going to give us a little visual reminder to tell us when our server is running. Console log server is running. There we go. Okay. The more Star Trek facts, the better. What do y'all think about Strange New Worlds? Okay, I really want to see it. I've heard it's sort of a return to form as far as like classic episodic Star Trek, rather than all like the more like gritty, dark, story arcs and stuff in the more recent series. And I like classic Trek, where it was like Monster of the Week or Story of the Week type stuff, with like a maybe an overarching story thread here and there. So I'm excited about Strange New Worlds. I don't have a Paramount account, so it's going to be one of those things where I just budget for like a month of that and binge it once it's available. But I'm excited. Strange New Worlds looks really fun. Star Trek running through your veins, yeah. Oh, thank you, Felice. The acting needs polishing, but the special effects and storylines are pretty good. Okay, well, that's fair. I feel like every first season of like even like Next Generation, the first season of Star Trek Next Generation was pretty bad, right? Like it was rough, man. And so I feel like you gotta, every series needs a first season to kind of find its legs, and then you can start really judging it in season 2. It's far more like original series or Next Generation with single episode stories. That's awesome. That's what I like. It's rad. And like I haven't really seen any of the new series because again, no Paramount account. So it's gonna be a binge session when I finally get the chance. All right. So everything's done as far as the nuts and bolts, as far as the things we need to actually get our server running. Now let's give it some data to return. Okay. So we know it's going to send back some JSON, but as of now, we don't have anything inside of our little dictionary of aliens. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build out some objects that it's going to be able to toss back to us. Okay. We're going to build out this object, I think, and then we'll take our first break. I think that's a good, reasonable stopping point. Thank you for the hydrate, Scotty. Okay. So we're going to build out our aliens. And in order to do that, essentially what I'm going to have is have this object, this alien object, be a container for smaller objects. So I'm going to have some species here. We're going to start with humans, and that's going to be an object. And we're going to have Vulcans, the pointy-eared dudes. And I'm putting colons, after each of these, right? Because they are keys and properties inside of a larger object, right? And if you're including multiple properties, you got to have commas after each one. Don't forget your commas. I always do. And then inside of these, we're gonna have a bunch more keys and properties. So Vulcans, Klingons. When I was younger, I really, really wanted a batleth, like the big curved sword that the Klingons use. So cool. You'd see them occasionally at conventions and stuff, like for sale, and I really wanted one. I still kind of do. We got the Romulans, which are very similar to Vulcans, right? They have pointy ears and the crazy eyebrows, right? And in the Star Trek universe, Vulcans and Romulans actually share a common ancestor. At one point, they were all living together on the same planet, and then Surak, the guy I mentioned earlier, who pioneered the whole logic above everything else for Vulcans, he was like evangelizing about this all over the planet, and the Romulans were like, no, and so they split, and the Romulans kind of became their own civilization. So Romulans, and we've got the Borg. I feel like most people know what the Borg are, right? Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated and all that. The Borg are pretty scary. Yeah, those are great suggestions. Bajorans and Ferengi as well. Yeah, I don't have those already coded out as far as like their properties and everything. So I'm not going to add them this time. But like I say, the code is available on my GitHub. So if you want to build your own version, you can absolutely add in more species because it was kind of hard to choose, right? We got the Borg. The Ferengi are your spirit race. Is that what you're talking about? Do !GitHub. That'll take you to my GitHub. And I've got 2 repos on my GitHub for, I've got 2 repos for one for the API and then one for the app that we're going to be building. We're doing 2 separate projects tonight. We're building out the API first. We're going to get it all nice and hosted on Heroku. And then we are going to build the app, which is going to hit it. All right, so Borg. And then my favorite, lizard boys. We got the Gorn. If you may not have heard of the Gorn, they are giant walking lizards, and they featured prominently in an episode of the original series where Kirk had to fight one. Yeah. And it was one of those like classic original series fights where Kirk ends up shirtless and it's like sweaty and really weird. And he's punching this big rubber lizard monster, and he ends up defeating the Gorn with a cannon made out of a tree trunk. And it's fantastic. So I had to add in the Gorn because I respect them. Oh yeah, we got the salt. There's the fiendish, the salt sucker alien from the original series. Yeah, that one's pretty creepy. Yep. So we've got the Gorn, and the very last is my other favorite. We've got the Trill. Yes, the Trill are pretty cool as well. The Trill are a symbiotic. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. The Trill look humanoid, but they are not. They have sort of like spots down the sides of their bodies. And they're actually the hosts for a symbiote that's very long lived and can have multiple hosts throughout its lifetime. And it's willing. It's a willing symbiosis. They want to be hosts. And it gives them shared memories and all this cool stuff, and it turns them into a different person. And so yeah, they can be, one Trill host can have the memories of a variety of different previous hosts through its symbiote. So pretty cool. Yeah, I was a Trill for Halloween one year because the makeup is really easy. Just dots, right? Okay, so we've got our basic objects. This is all the species I'm going to do for now, but I know there's a ton more cool ones out there. You got your Ferengi, you got your salt suckers, you got your Bajorans, they're awesome. But that's what we're going to do. We're just going to do this for now. We're not going to get it too crazy. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm leaving folks behind with my Star Trek lore, but I can't help it. Like I say, oh, Betazoids are really cool too. They're empaths. They can sense emotions. Yeah, yeah. Most Trill are not. Yeah, most Trill are not hosts. It's a very rare, privileged sort of a position. Yep. Okay. So, and I'm not going to type out all of this stuff. I'm going to copy it and paste it from my version, but obviously you can grab all of this as well. So I'm going to copy and paste what goes in here, but I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. So inside of my humans, I'm going to paste this stuff in here. We've got our species name. So again, these are keys and properties, right? So this is the thing that you look up against, and then this is the result. Right? So if I wanted to have some inner text, like in my app, in my DOM, I would say, if I wanted the name to show up, I would say, data dot species name, right? So we've got the name, we got species name, we got home world, we've got, I did have location on this first one and I kind of stopped doing that. So I can actually, I should get this out of here. We don't need that. Features, so distinguishing features so you can quickly identify them. An interesting fact about them, notable examples of the particular species. So we've got James T. Kirk, Zephram Cochrane, the founder of Warp Drive, and Abraham Lincoln. And then we have an image that I just pulled off of the wiki. You Google Trill and got girls kissing. Yeah, there was a bit of a because I mentioned the symbiotes. The symbiotes can have memories from people of different genders, previous hosts of different genders, and that kind of thing. So there was a particularly electric moment for 1995 in which there was a kiss between two folks who appeared to be of the same gender on screen. While in canon that was not entirely true, but it was a big deal at the time. So, all right, so we got Vulcans next. And their species name Vulcan, homeworld Vulcan, features, interesting facts. We already kind of talked about that one. Next up, we got Klingons. GMAC, if you want to rewind the stream to the beginning, you can go to my channel, my Twitch channel, and the VOD should already be there. So you can watch it. You can start from the beginning and just watch the VOD as you go. So just go to my videos on my Twitch channel, and if you miss the start and you want to rewind, that's totally fine. The VOD is already there for you. Mm-hmm. And then we've got next up. So we've got Klingons again, the big ridge forehead, scary people. Romulans again, which we already talked about. And then we've got the Borg, which we already talked about as well. Borg are the best. They're so cool. They assimilate technologically. So they don't really have a genetic sort of single genetic background. Oh, thanks for the hydrate. We got that single genetic background. They don't really have that single genetic background. They just propagate by assimilating others through nanobots. So they inject you with nanobots, which basically augment you with a bunch of like technological gewgaws and stuff all over your face and your body and turn you into a cyborg kind of. And they are controlled by a singular hive mind, which is I guess guided by a single queen, like a beehive. Which I know that's not entirely true as far as bees go. Any insect lovers out there, don't hate me. Watch 9. We talked about that a little bit earlier. They are ridged. The Klingons do have ridged foreheads, yes. For a brief time, for about 100 years, they had a virus and they lost those ridges, but they got them back. So it's all good. And that virus happened to be around the time of the original series when they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford makeup. Yeah. He'd be the first to volunteer for assimilation. Oh boy. I don't know if I'd volunteer, but I do think the Borg are kind of badass. So then we've got the Gorn. And the Gorn are actually super technologically advanced. They look like big lizards, but they're actually pretty advanced. They've got a lot of they're super warlike, and they've got a ton of bioweapons. And then the last is the Trill, which we've already talked about as well. Okay. Oops. Hang on. Pasted that wrong. Let me try again. There we go. Okay, so that should be good to go. And so I've got this large object, this aliens object that contains these multiple smaller objects, each with their own keys and properties. So when we send a request, it's gonna our server is gonna know which alien and information to send back based on whatever URL we send it. So we'll do that in a little bit, but let's go ahead and save this. And so now we have it, and we can go ahead and start up a local server if we want to test and make sure that this is working. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and say, so if I wanted to start a local host, how would just on my machine? We're going to do Heroku in a minute, but before our break, let's just test and make sure that we're going. Node server JS. Yes, exactly. In the code, it says alien name, and the object, it says species name. Will that be a problem? No, it won't, because let's think about what we're doing here. Where is it? Sorry. Yeah. All right. So this is just basically a parameter that's being passed. So this is going to be alien name. When we actually send a URL, alien name is going to be replaced by human or Vulcan or Trill. And then that's going to be passed down into our lookup here. So essentially, let's say I pass in Vulcan, right? So Vulcan is going to be pulled out, and it's going to be assigned to alien's name. And so we're going to say, all right, look in our aliens object for something called Vulcan, and then return back all the information about Vulcan. So just a parameter. It's no big deal. It'll pull it all back for us. Yeah, you got it. All right, let's launch this locally and see what we get. Node server JS. Server is running. Baller. All right, let's now I didn't set up any HTML, right? So we aren't going to see much here, but what we can do is we can test and see whether our URL is going to work properly. So what did I say? 8,000? Localhost 8,000? Localhost 8,000. Yeah, and there's nothing there because our HTML file is empty. But that's okay. We can still test this, right? So if I want to test and see whether I can pull information out of my API, I'm going to have to trigger the response that I want in order to send data back. So in order to do that, yeah, exactly. Piece of shoot has got it. In order to do that, I'm going to just append some stuff to the end of my URL. And you can see there where I was testing Leon's version earlier. He did his version on wrappers, and I know nothing about wrap, so I decided to do mine on something that I know a ton about, which is Star Trek. And I just did Star Wars last week, so I feel like I need to be fair. All right, so API, and we'll see if we can get back to JSON for Vulcans. Did I have that plural? I forget. Hang on. I think it's plural. Let me just double check. I'm second guessing myself. Yeah, Vulcans. All right. Okay. Let's see if it works. Dial in. Yeah, exactly. Hey, look at that. Look what we just did. Look at. We got back the exact object that we wanted, right? And it looks just like the kind of output that we used to get from all the APIs that we would hit when we did all of our API projects. We've done a ton of stuff with APIs, right? If you look back through my video history, I've done 7 or 8 probably different API projects on stream before. And each time we were hitting somebody else's API. Now we're hitting one that we have built, which is awesome. We can build our own content now. Yeah. Chanpo, did you check the console log? Do you have any errors there? Check the console, check your check and see if you got any errors in the terminal, anything like that. Not sure if you're more impressed about the Star Trek knowledge or that I record a whole project in one sitting. Well, I'm not coding this live. I do have notes. I've already coded this and tested it, and we're building version 2.0 right now. So I'm not coding this on the fly. Yeah, I built another working version earlier today, which you can see on my GitHub. So, yeah. Can you see how I set up port? Yeah, sure. So we know this is working, right? And I'll just do one more. We'll do humans. There. So we got it all back. We can get anything that we want out of it. Yep. All right. So let's go back, and somebody wanted to see the port thing. Chanpo, check and make sure, did you put commas after everything? Look for anything that's underlined. You might be missing a comma somewhere. That's really easy to do. All right, so our listen right here, we're setting up essentially we're giving Heroku the option to switch ports if it needs to. We specified port 8000, but we're saying, hey, Heroku, if you know better, feel free to switch it up. It's not an object, it's a human being. Yeah, Govinter, I think that's an error. The status 500. I don't remember what it means exactly. Internal server error. Okay. Yeah, check your code and see if anything's underlined, I guess. See if you, like I said, check for spelling mistakes. I mean, just in my experience, it's super common, spelling mistake. You might have a variable assigned wrong, something like that. Oh, thanks, Watch. Does the port listening always happen at the bottom? That's just what I've seen. It seems like it usually gets put at the end, so it's almost like you're building up all the wiring, you're hooking up everything, and then the last thing you do, the listen is like switching the power switch, right? It's like when you're building a computer, you want to make sure everything's plugged in and all arranged before you flip that switch to turn it on. And so the listen is kind of like just like returning the port on. So I guess that's what I've seen. Yeah. Alien versus aliens versus predator. Yeah. Okay, so we know that this is working, right? Which is awesome. So we're going to take a break because I feel like we deserve one. So we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to host this on Heroku, and we're going to make it so that it's accessible to anyone anywhere. So Joe Schmo from Idaho, if they had the URL and they knew how to format it, they could hit this and they could get data back. Which is essentially how every single other API works, right? As long as you know how to format the URL, you can hit it and you can get data back. Aside from like security and keys and all that, but in general, the basic process. npm init. Chanpo, do you have Node installed on your machine? Like, did you install Node? Oh, yeah, and you're not installing npm init. You just say npm init. Just like npm init. You don't install that. That just starts it running. So Chanpo, check and see if you have a package.json file. You don't need to do npm init again. You already have it. But you do need like Express, and you need to make sure you've installed Express. So if you check your package.json file, you should see these two things. You should see cores and Express. So look for those two things and see, okay, first off, do I have package.json? Second off, do I have cores and Express installed? You don't have package.json. Okay, well then just type npm init in the terminal. Not install, just npm init. And then that should give you that package.json file. And then you can install cores and Express. You kind of have to do it in order. Yeah. So look and see what Chad. So just take what Chad posted in chat there and do that. Okay, I'm gonna get a break set up, and if anybody's having struggles, I'll give you a little time to troubleshoot. But yeah, we'll put 5 minutes on the clock here. Hey Jay, I'm welcome. All right, let me get this pulled up. All right. So we'll host it on Heroku, and then we'll build the good looking part. Five-minute timer. Hey, safety, thank you. I tried to make it fire. I think this is the cool. We're getting into the really cool stuff now, right? We're getting into the stuff where we can what did I zoom in? We can make it happen, right? We can make magic now. So the install things that I mentioned, well, that's covered in, so installing Node, like the overall package that we're using, the overall like JS uh, program that we're using, I guess, that's covered in my install video. However, like Express and stuff, in order to do that, you would probably want to look at my video from this past Sunday, where we spent a lot of time just getting Node working, and installing Express, testing whether Express was working. Like we went pretty slowly on that. So if you're struggling with like just installing those packages, you could always look back at my video from this past Sunday. All right, I'm going to reset the timer because you probably were all listening to me talk, and I don't want you to miss out on time. So, all right, I'll see you in 5 minutes. I'm going to go feed my dogs, and then I will return. And I hope you will too. I'm going to mute that so it doesn't beep at you. I make building APIs look so easy. Well, that's because with Express it is. It's so much easier than it was before. Yes, I love Express. So, all right, I'll see you in a bit. Sorry. That's no problem, JM. You're welcome to ask questions at any time. Don't ever feel bad about asking a question. It's all good. All right, folks, we got about a minute left, so come on back when you're ready. Okie dokie, come on back. Let's get back into it. So as a reminder, if you are having trouble with the code and you want to look at the finished version, you can go to my GitHub, !GitHub, and look for the Star Trek API repo. There's a repo that's just for the API, and it has all this in it. So you can feel free to look at that if you want something to compare against to figure out where things might have gone wrong. That's available for you if you want it. Yeah, there's a blank HTML because did we do anything in HTML? Is there anything in our HTML file? Did we touch it? No, right? My HTML is blank and there's nothing wrong with that. We don't need anything in our HTML necessarily. I think we'll probably want to put something in there just so people know like where they are when they land at our API. But that's not the point of an API, right? The point of an API is not to give you HTML. It's to give you JSON so you can do cool stuff with it in your app. Oh, Max, welcome. Good morning to you. Yeah. Where can you see the repo? Exclamation point, GitHub. Exclamation point, GitHub in the chat. And then look for the Star Trek API repo. Okay. All right. So our server is done, and it is ready to serve up some JSON. And like I say, I mean, we don't have to necessarily put anything in our HTML because that's not why people are going to be hitting our API. But we can just say like, if you just type so if you have an HTML file and you just type the word HTML, you'll see that we can see there's a few options there. One of them is HTML5. And if you just choose that option, boop, it gives you all that wonderful formatting just automatically. So, and let's see what, yeah, here, I'll make sure that I think the GitHub command should be working. So exclamation point, I'll just do it just to make sure it's working. Exclamation point GitHub. Yeah, there we go. So just like that, there's several commands you can do. You can do YouTube to get my exclamation point YouTube to get my YouTube. You can do exclamation point Leon to get links about Leon. So there's a few commands you can do. Okay, and so anyway, in this case, I'm just going to put a little h1 in here just to say like, welcome to the Star Trek Aliens API. There we go. That'll just tell people where they are if they do manage to get to the homepage. Yeah. You can also put exclamation point instead of it. Wow, so even faster. There's even faster ways to do it. That's wild. It's awesome. Okay, so that'll help us out there. If I wanted to see that in the browser, then if I wanted to see this HTML show up in the browser, I'd have to kill my server and restart it. So we can do that real quick. Just as a little refresher, we got to do that spaced repetition on how we manage servers using Node. So if I want to stop my server, how would I do that? Oh, you have to have Emmet installed. Okay, I don't have Emmet installed. Yeah, if I want to stop a server, then I do Control C. Yes, exactly. Control C. There we go. And that just stopped my server. Perfect. So I've saved everything. So now if I want to restart my server, I just say node server JS. And if we were using NodeMon, this would do it for us. Oh, that's right. And we did change HTML, so this isn't going to matter, right? It's still good practice though. Yeah, if we were using NodeMon, it would restart it for us, but in this case, we're doing it manually. Yeah. Oh, another hydrate. Okay. I got enough tea in my big mug. All right. So, I feel like we've got a good handle on our API, sort of our little thing that's going to serve up our data. So let's go ahead and see if we can maybe move this to Heroku, because right now it's local, right? And local means that it only exists really for me to use on my machine. If I want to be able to have other people potentially hit this as well, which for an API, we're going to want that, I'm going to need to host it somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this server again. And the first thing I need to do, number one, is I need to make sure that I have a Heroku account. So I know I have one, but we'll just go to Heroku.com. And you're going to want to make sure that you have signed up. So I assume I'm signed in here, but you want to make sure that you sign up and you just sign up for a free account. There's a free option. Leon is never going to do us like that. He's always going to, give us things that have the ability to have free hosting. And so that's what we're going to be doing here. What kind of tea? Plain black tea. Yes, only the best for me. Only the cheapest store brand tea for moi. Yes, I'm very fancy. Yeah, so you're going to want to make sure that you signed up for Heroku. And then the second thing that you're going to want to do, and this is more important, once you've signed up for Heroku, is you're going to need the Heroku command line interface. So you know how when you use Git, you use it in the terminal, right? You do git add, git commit, all that stuff, in the command line in the terminal. You're going to do something very similar for Heroku. And in order to facilitate that, you'll need the Heroku command line interface. So if you've already tried some of the commands that Leon posted in class, he gave us a set of commands. If you're like, why isn't this working? It doesn't recognize it. What's going on? Well, that's probably because you don't have the Heroku command line interface installed. So I will give you the link to this article. And if you scroll down just a tad, it gives you the installer links for this stuff. Is it safe to deploy in Heroku? Manu, I can't speak to that. In the course that we're all taking together, we were told to use Heroku to do our deployments. I can't speak for vulnerability or any security concerns, honestly. Let's hope it's okay. Yeah. And I mean, I guess we aren't really deploying anything here that's going to be sensitive, but I understand if there's a credential issue, that could be a problem if it shares your GitHub credentials. But I guess if there's a problem, we can all just change our passwords at some point. Yeah, black tea. Yeah, it is slightly caffeinated tea. All right, so here's the link. If you all want to have a link to where you can download the Heroku command line interface, then that will allow you to use those commands that Leon has shared with us. And it kind of just walks you through the installation. And then once you have it, it should be those commands should Heroku based commands should become available for you in the terminal. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. So just go ahead and, go ahead and install that. It doesn't take very long at all. It's not a hefty package or anything like that. So once you've done that, now what? So you have your Heroku account and you have your Heroku command line interface. Now we need to essentially get our stuff from our local machine up to Heroku using some terminal commands. Well, what the heck terminal commands are we supposed to use anyway? Well, fortunately, in the slides, Leon gave us the commands that we will need. So I'm even going to give you that link because I am a nice person. It is on slide 73 from the last class. And I just posted the link in chat for you. These are all of the commands that you will need. And two, after you install the command line interface for Heroku, you may or may not need to like close and restart your terminal. I think I had to do that. It just wasn't like, it wasn't recognizing Heroku stuff. And then I had to just be like, oh, close and restart. And then it was fine. Yeah. So that's a link to exactly the slide that you need with all those commands on it. So how are folks doing? Are you all getting the command line installs and your Heroku accounts created? I don't want to leave the majority of folks in the dust. If y'all are still working on that. Almost there? Okay. Well, I'll do another free hydrate here. Okay, I don't want to rush y'all. It's all good. I got time. We're not going 6 hours tonight, but I do have time. We're not going 6 hours like we did on Sunday. I refuse. No way. There should be a link right there in the. I think this is the terminal command for you. For Mac. So these commands, you can do them in basically any command line interface that supports Git. So if you use like Minty or something like that, we'll do that in a minute. We'll do that in a minute. We'll see where we can use these commands. Yeah, and we'll get to the repo. We haven't got there yet. But yeah, we're gonna need a repo and we're gonna need to push it up. And yeah, I just want to make sure everybody's at least got the basics that they can even do, so that they can even do this stuff. Yeah, Chanpo, the only other thing I could think of that might be messing you up a little bit is if you're somehow in the wrong folder. Remember how you have to like CD and make sure you're in the right folder? That could be the only thing I could think of is if you got your terminal like in the wrong folder and you're trying to run npm init in a different folder. That could be the only other thing I could think of that might be causing that package JSON to not show up. Where's the command line? The command line is the terminal. So where we've been typing this whole time, where we've been doing the npm stuff, that's kind of where we're going to do this. Once everybody's ready. You got into Heroku, good deal. What are we doing? We're going to be moving our API that we just wrote, our whole server.js stuff, up to Heroku so that everybody can access it. So anybody in the world and their mother could grab stuff from our API, not just us. Yeah, you're going to want to be careful. Name simple wrap API. Are you already trying to do the Heroku upload? Maybe just pump the brakes a little bit. Let's do it together. Pump the brakes. I'm actually going to navigate away from this, so folks don't just. We'll get there in a second. We'll do it together. You're welcome to try, but if you're getting an error, we'll pause for a sec. Command line downloading, awesome. Getting a few readies, good. I know that everybody's internet is different speeds, so I don't want to outpace folks. Ready. Okay, we're getting a few readies. Good deal. Good, good, good. Ready. Okay. Yeah, all right. So Dev, that means you're fine. You've got your account created. Just go and make sure you've got the command line thingamajig installed, and then we're going to do everything from the command line. We're not going to build something within Heroku itself. We're going to use the terminal to upload our app that already exists, or our API that already exists, to Heroku. Yeah, kind of like how we do for GitHub, right? Like on GitHub, all you do is you just create the repo, and then you do all the coding in VS Code, and you just push it up, right? You're not building anything in GitHub. You're just using it as a storage bin. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Taz Gaming, welcome. We are just getting set up with Heroku. We are real devs indeed. We've been real devs this whole time. We just keep getting a little bit more knowledge as we go. That's the thing about being a dev. You never stop learning. You're never not learning as a dev. I'm just having currently I'm having to learn a whole new suite of tools for my day job. So it's always a learning curve all the time. Okay. I'm going to assume most folks are getting there at least. So we're going to keep going pretty slowly. But let's see. All right. So I'm going back to my VS Code window here. And we're going to go back to our server.js. It doesn't really matter where we are. We're going to be using the terminal anyway. So going to go down to the terminal. I'm going to make sure that I am in the appropriate folder, which I should be. Yeah, no problem, Gavintor. No problem at all. All right, now, which terminal client you use is really going to, it's going to depend. Like right now, my default is PowerShell, but actually in order to do Git stuff, I'm going to switch to Git Bash as my terminal. And you can switch your terminal by just over here in the right, see the right corner of my terminal? It says where it says PowerShell. I can go ahead and change this to be something different. In this case, I'm going to change to Bash. Now, if you normally do all your Git stuff in a different terminal, that's totally fine. There's no right answer to this. I'm just going to do it here. Okay. You might use WSL or I don't know, like just whatever is your flavor of choice where you normally do your Git work. I do it in Minty, Git Bash and Minty, but it is up to you. Yeah, you can have multiple terminals open in multiple different clients. You can have, so I've got PowerShell here, I've got Bash. You can do just a regular command prompt. It's up to you. So I'm going back to Bash because that's where I'm going to do my work. All right. The first thing I'm going to do in order to push to Heroku, I first need to push my code to a local repository. Okay. So if I want to create a local Git repository for this project, for this folder, what do I do? Yeah, blind. I used to use it in its own window as well, and I was like, "Oh, dang! I could have been doing it in VS Code this entire time." I just learned that like a couple weeks ago, so it's all good. Terrible developer gang. Yeah, being a terrible developer means you're always going to be learning. Which I mean, that's I feel like I want to be a terrible developer my entire life because I never want to be not learning. I never want to think I'm good enough to stop learning because that's when you get in trouble. Yeah, get in it. That's how, right? That's how we initialize a repository. Mm-hmm. So get init, boop, cool. Repository created, right? And we can see that it's in the right folder. We're all good there. Facts indeed. Yes. Okay, so get init, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a commit to my local repository. I'm not worrying about GitHub right now. because I know all my stuff is already up on GitHub. So, and Heroku is going to be a completely different push. We're still using Git to push data somewhere else, but it's not going to be to GitHub. It's going to be to Heroku. Okay. So we're going to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and do git add. Woo, there's a lot of files, right? Don't worry about that. It's all good. It just gives me that, I forgot to disable that warning, so don't worry about it. Just a warning, it doesn't hurt anything. All right, so I've done my git add. Now I can just do my git commit. Initial API commit. Oh, and I forgot the word message there, sorry. Let's try that again, message. Also, too, just a little pro tip, if you don't want to get caught in that Vim like thing where if you forget a quote or whatever, it's going to toss you in that weird, and you have to do like, colon WQ or whatever, you can change the default message editor for Git. I use Notepad++ for mine, so that if it ever tosses me into there accidentally, I can just close Notepad and it'll just send me right back out. So you can change that default from Vim to something less scary if you want. Yeah. Okay, so we're just committing to the local repository right now. We're all good. And we're already on the main branch. You can see there. We're on main already. So all good. We've got our commit. We'll go ahead and commit. Cool. Hate Vim. Yeah, I actually changed that setting when I first installed Git. I'm sure there's a way to do it though. Just Google that. Be like, how do I change default message editor for Git? I'm sure it's a setting that you can change. Yeah, rather than just have it be in Notepad or something versus Vim. Yeah. Or just turn off the computer. Yeah, absolutely, that works too. Hit your computer with a hammer. That's another option. Okay, so we've done our commit. So it's in our local repo. It's all good. We're there. We're good. Now we can start to work with Heroku a little bit. So we don't have to do this from memory. We are going to do it from Leon because he gave us what we need. So in the slides, I'll share the link again if you didn't get it the first time. Boop. There you go. All right, so assuming you have the Heroku command line interface installed, you should be able to do Heroku Login. Now, if you set up two-factor authentication or not, I think that determines whether or not you need this -I. I have two-factor authentication, so I'm just going to do Heroku Login, but you can try it both ways and see which one actually lets you log in. Hey, welcome, Pack Rabbit. Pack Rabbit, just so you know, we just we're into Heroku now. So if you don't have the Heroku command line interface installed, you might want to go to my channel and grab this VOD and maybe rewind it a little bit so that you make sure you don't miss any steps. If you want to follow along, or if you just want to watch, that's fine too. No harm in that. All right. Oh, come back. Come on. No. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do Heroku Login. Okay. And it says press any key to open up the browser to log in or Q to exit. So I'm going to just go ahead and hit enter. And it should hopefully let me log in. All right. And I'm logged in. Good deal. So that's all that was easy, right? And now it says that I am logged in with my email address there. Smile Girl. Yeah, so that's another setting as far as master versus main. So I know the new standard is using main instead of master. That's another setting that you can change and get. However, what Chad just shared there will help you change that from master to main. So just maybe use that command. Thank you, Chad, for providing that. Hey, Kozulu. Yeah, so now we should be logged in and we should have Heroku, the Heroku command line interface should be able to now interface with the browser, with the cloud, and start to send data back and forth. So how do we do that? Okay, well, let's keep going. All right, the next statement, Heroku Create. Okay, Leon's version was Simple Wrap API. However, we don't want to call ours that. Ours is not a Simple Wrap API. Ours is something else. So pick a name. You can pick a name that's descriptive to you. I'm not sure if it lets us all like share names, like the same name on all of our different accounts. I guess we'll find out, right? We'll see. But Heroku Create and then give it a name. So whatever you want that name to be. I keep opening the wrong window. All right, there we go. Heroku Create. I'm just going to call mine the Star Trek API. Actually, I probably will have to say like Star Trek API demo because I already have my version. So I'm just going to say that. Okay. It has to be lowercase. That's fine. That's fine. So see what it says there. That's why we need to, read errors and see what errors are trying to tell us. So it says Heroku Create. It says there's an update available. We can ignore that. It says it was creating it, but then we got this little exclamation point, and it says the name must start with a letter, and with a letter or digit. It can only contain lowercase. Okay, that's fine. Heroku Create Star Trek API demo. Fine. Okay, it says it's creating it, and it has created it. Now look, it gave us a URL. It gave us a URL for our API. How cool is that? Heroku Login Bash, command not found. Okay, so if you're getting errors when you try to use the keyword Heroku, and you did install the command line interface, then maybe try restarting your terminal. So close the terminal, and you may even have to close VS Code and restart. Give that a try. Save your work and then just close VS Code and just reopen it and try again in the terminal if you did install the command line interface. VS Code crashed. Oh, wow. Goodness. Name has to be unique. You can just put some numbers after, or well, I guess, let's see, what does it say? And with a letter or digit. Yeah, you can just put like some numbers after it if you want to make a unique name. Name it something you remember and then put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 after it. Yeah, Champo, I'm sorry. I really don't know where you're stuck. Yeah, maybe if you can post some screenshots in one of the help channels, maybe somebody can help pinpoint if they're able to see your screen. Sometimes seeing the error can help more. Like seeing the actual error text can help more to diagnose what's going on. Yeah, Roboso, again, try, if you did install the Heroku command line, if you did install it, and you went through all the steps, maybe check, try closing VS Code and reopening again. Did it, when you, let's see, try to log in, it just stops moving. Did you get anything like where it says like, press any key to open the browser? Did it give you any sort of message like that? So you'll have to log in the browser. And you may have to, if you didn't enable two-factor authentication, you may also have to use Heroku Login -I. I'm honestly not quite sure of the difference. It's just that Leon said that if you have two-factor authentication, you just use Heroku Login. If you don't, then use Heroku Login -I. I don't know the difference yet. Oh, restarting everything helped. Good. Okay. Yeah. So if it's not recognized Heroku as a command, maybe just try closing and restarting VS Code because it like didn't pick it up or whatever. Yeah, and I actually did set up two-factor authentication on my phone, and it did still let me log in. I just had to use Heroku Login instead of Heroku Login -I. Yeah, so PowerShell. So you can change your terminal. See over here in the right hand corner, click this little down arrow right here. And it'll give you options. And one of them should hopefully be whatever you normally use for Git. I use Git Bash. You might use something else, WSL or something. Gives you choices if you click the little down arrow. So just choose whatever you normally use for Git. I think if you're on a Mac, it's not such a big deal, but for Windows, it's a little weird. Oh, and we got posture check too. Sorry. All right. Oops. Okay. Oxy, I didn't have to use Heroku Login I. So you can see, I mean, right here. Heroku Login. So I think it really depends on how you set up, right? So you can try both. If one was not working, just try the other. Yeah, and that's what I was saying, Oxy. If you have MFA enabled, which is I was saying two-factor authentication, then Heroku will open the browser to log in. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, VC. So let's think about this for a second, VC. So what have we done so far, right? Did we set up a GitHub repository? No, right? We didn't. All we did was set up a local repository. Remember, GitHub isn't the main purpose of Git. It's just a nice thing that helps us store our code online. The main purpose of Git is to store your code in local repositories on your machine. So it's easy to forget because we think of Git and GitHub as being the same thing, but they aren't, right? Git just facilitates the creating of repositories locally, but it can interface with GitHub, which is online. But we're using it instead, we're going to use it to interface with Heroku, which is a different location. So it's not going to be on GitHub. Or sorry, were you talking about my repository? Sorry if I didn't mean to totally misinterpret your question. Yeah, Gavintor, it's not gonna let you use the same name, so just use the name with a bunch of numbers after it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or a random sequence of numbers, and that should work. Finally let you log in. Oh, good. Great. Okay. So we have created our Heroku bucket or whatever we want to call it. And you can see it's given us a URL. So it's given us a unique URL that we could actually visit. There's nothing there right now. We haven't pushed anything to it, but this is kind of cool, right? It's given us our own little hosting URL that anybody can go to. So let's see what we need to do next. The last thing that we did was we logged in and we said create Star Trek API demo or whatever you called yours. So we did our create. Now let's see what we need to do after the create. Okay, so we need to do an echo. We need to do an echo statement. And essentially what this is doing is it's telling Node, how are we, like what type of project do we have here? Well, we're using Node. We're powering this with Node. Because I think with Heroku, I was seeing that you could build all sorts of apps in different types of languages and that kind of thing. In this case, we're saying, yeah, we're using Node. And that's the command, that we would normally use to launch our server. So we're telling Heroku to do that instead. And it's going to actually create a new file for us in VS Code as well. So watch for that. And again, I opened the wrong one. All right. So I'm going to drop that in. Oh, nope, not that. I thought I copied it. Hang on. Copy. Okay. So I'm going to say echo web server. Oh, thanks for the hydrate. Echo web node server JS, and watch for a new file to show up here in my list. Okay. Oh, hello. Look at that. Excuse me. Look at that. We got a new thing. It says proc file. And you can see it has a little Heroku logo next to it. So we've got a new thing here. And if we click into it, it doesn't have very much in there, right? Just says web node server JS, but we have it. So that's good, I guess. All right. Now, what do we do next? Well, next, this is going to look kind of familiar. All we need to do, we're hooked up. We're in the zone. We're in the matrix. We're piped in. All we need to do now is just do a normal commit like we would normally do, which we've done a gajillion times, right? So we're going to do a git add and a git commit, which we should all know how to do. All right. Git add dot, sure. Git commit dash m. I'm just going to say with proc file. That's the only new thing since our last commit. Okay. And then the last thing we need to do, what do we do? What do we do when we're working with Git? What do we do after a commit? If we want to, like, say, if we were sending the data to GitHub, what would we do next after a commit? Yes. Now, don't do this yet. Don't get got. Let's look at what we need to do. We do need to do a push, but it's going to look a little bit different than what we normally do. All right. Git push Heroku main. So that's telling Git where to send it. It's going to push it up somewhere, but we need to make sure that it's sending it to the right place. Almost got all right, git push Heroku main. Let's see if this works. Oh, hello. It's doing a bunch of stuff. Oh, if you type git remote -v, it'll show you all the places you can push your code. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and we probably should have done a git ignore, but that's all right. All right, look at that. So it says, look at this. It says HTTPS Star Trek API demo HerokuApp.com deployed to Heroku. Very cool. Yeah, and if you didn't change master to main, if you didn't change that terminology, you'll need to change your command to say master instead of main. Yeah. So if you look, so right here at the end of your little command line, if you're using git bash, it should say what branch you're on. And so you just need to match the branch name with your commands. It's alive. Yes, indeed. All right. So we can go there. I mean, it's a valid URL, right? We can control click or we can copy and paste. So when we go there, we should just see like the landing page. Oh, hey, look at that. It's my landing page, but it's on Heroku. Very cool. Blind, did you install the command line interface? Did you install that? When were you able to use the other Heroku commands previously? Is this just the first one that isn't working? Yes, everything else worked. Okay. Well, Chad suggested grabbing the Git URL from Heroku. So I think, you know, if you look in your like this is like the Git URL here. I think that's what they're suggesting. Let's see. I'm sorry, if we go all the way up here. And also, oh, hey, sorry. Did you do the second commit? So after we did the echo, right? You did the echo and that worked. And it created your proc file, right? Created your proc file. Did you do another add and commit after that? Because I think you need to commit that proc file. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Chad actually shared that a little earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Thanks for the help, Chad. I think, yeah, I found it. It's up here. How you can change the branch name. There. I just pasted it in. Yep. How's everybody else doing? I don't want to be leaving folks too far in the dust. If you've been hanging on for this long, I want to keep you hanging on for a little longer. Okay, good, Champa. I hope someone can help you there if you've posted some screenshots. Okay, so let's pause for just 1 second and let's see what time is it. 8:53. Okay, so we'll pause for a second here and we'll run it back a little bit for anybody that's still having trouble. Okay, so we'll kind of I'm going to scroll back up through my code here. All right. So first thing we did was we installed the command line interface for Heroku. We need that. We did our login. So Heroku Login or Heroku Login -I, depending on which one you needed. The next thing we did was Heroku Create, and then the name of your app or whatever it's going to be. And then we did an echo. So I'm just helping folks if making sure nobody missed a step here that might be causing them problems. We did an echo. And then we did another git add and a git commit. I think that's really important because that echo adds the proc file here. And I think you need to commit that proc file and then push it up to Heroku. Otherwise it's not going to work. Ah, Frazee, good deal. So we did the commit. And then finally, last thing, after that second commit, then we did the push. And if you're using master, then you just need to replace main with master instead. Ah, you got it working, Dev Dipper? Ah, good deal. What was the problem? Yeah, and at any point, you can just try doing a git add and a git commit again if it's still not working. Oh, main versus master. Yeah, that'll do it. Oh, you clicked on the Git link rather than the actual API link. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. Well, in simple things, it's nice because then you can just be like, oh yeah, and then you can just move on, right? Yeah. Good deal. All right, I'm seeing some it works here. Some folks have sorted themselves out, so that's awesome. Troubleshooting is a great skill to have. It's something that takes time to learn, but believe me, not everybody has the ability to try and to at least try and troubleshoot their own stuff. So I appreciate everybody that's even if you're not able to solve it, the fact that you're trying to troubleshoot is really a lot more than most people do. Turn it off and on again. Okay. The last thing I would suggest is Blind. Let's see. Blind, did you install the Heroku command line interface? Because you asked for the URL earlier, so I'm not sure how far along you are. I'm sorry. Okay, so you got that. Did any of these work? How far did you get, Blind? How far did you get? Oh, you're all caught up. Okay, I thought you said it. I thought you said it didn't work though. Okay, what happened when you did the push though? Heroku does not appear to be a Git repository. Okay, hey, can you maybe just try googling that specific error? Because that seems like a very Googleable error. Maybe try googling that specific error and see what people say. Just Google literally that. Fatal error: Heroku is not a Git repository. Google that message and see what you get, and see if the answer might be there. Cannot parse proc file. Did you commit your proc file? Does it say uncommitted up here? Did you commit it? Because you got to commit it. That sounds like your proc file isn't there. So you got to do a git add dot and a git commit. before you do the push. Yeah, you have the proc file, but did you commit the proc file? I know it's there, but you have to do a git add and a git commit before you push. Okay. Yeah, okay, so it looks like somebody had said git add dot wasn't working for them, so they had to do git add proc file, and that works too. You're just specifically adding the file. Yeah, so again, the steps are here, and if you're having trouble, if you don't want me to, if you're having trouble following along, here I'll send the link to the slides again, and the steps are right there, and that click on the link. So if you need to look at it over break, you can click on that link and just literally follow these steps in order. Right? You log in, you create, and you'll replace this with whatever name you want for your app. Then you do the echo, and you can just copy and paste this. You do an add, you do a commit, and you do a push. What does my git status look like? I can see. Nothing to commit, as it should be, right? I should have everything committed. Piece of Shoot had a suggestion there. Heroku Git Remote -A, and then I assume the your app is like your app name. If you're getting Heroku does not appear to be a Git repository. Okay. And it could be that maybe an issue with the login or something. Thanks for stopping in, Inadequate. Thanks for coming. Yeah, and if you have you don't necessarily have to change your branch name if your branch says master here. Just change the step where you do the git push. So if it says master here, you can just do git push Heroku master instead. That's fine. I don't know why VS Code was crashing, but if you got it to work, that's awesome. Interesting. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a break. So, but before we do that, I just want to show you what we did, right? Because we did everything in the terminal, so it's not super obvious what we actually did. So let's take a look in the browser, and we can see that we have this here on this is actually our API that is now hosted on Heroku. So if I go to my API URL, I can pull data out of the API from Heroku. And you could too. If you went to this specific URL, Star Trek API demo.herokuapp.com, you could pull data out of it too. So that's the magic sauce. That's why we did this, right? So /API /Vulcans. There. And there's all that juicy data. And we could do Gorn. There we go. You forgot the get in. I did too. It's all good. On Mac Linux, well, you're going to be on one of those two branches, Dev. So whatever your default is, I mean, you can try both. If one doesn't work, then you can try the other. Oh, you mean the tag? I think they mean the tag at the end of the line that tells you what branch you're on. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Piece of Shoot, that is a good suggestion. You can do git branch if you're not sure what branch you're on. Good suggestion, Piece. Yeah, the tag I'm using Minty. Yeah. So I know everybody's using slightly different, like, some people are on terminal, some people are on, Linux, some people are on like WSL. So yeah, you can see your file on the Heroku website. Okay, can you like open the app from Heroku? So if we look at Heroku, um, if we look, you can go to dashboard.heroku.com/apps, and you can see the apps that you've deployed to Heroku. So in this case, we're actively using Star Trek API demo right now, so it's lit up. We can see it right there. So if I click on it, I can see a bunch of junk about it, but I can also open it from here. So if you see it, if you see it on Heroku, but you're not quite sure if it actually worked, you can always just go to your dashboard, click on it, and then click open from here, and it'll do the same thing. So if you want to double check, you can always open it that way as well. Rather than going straight to the URL, you can just go to your dashboard and click on it there. Oh, it works. Oh, good, Smile. Okay, great. Good deal. Okay, so of course, we can manipulate the URL manually to get this data out, right? Just like we were doing before. But we really want to have an app that can do it for us, because manipulating the URL by hand is kind of hard, right? So we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to actually build our app that's going to, fetch. It's going to fetch for us from our API. So we're going to be done with our server side work, and we're going to build a whole new app, which is going to treat our server, treat this whole API that we created, just like all the APIs that we worked with before. And we're going to do a fetch, and we're going to grab that data. Hey, Chrysantigo, welcome. Hey, you can catch the VOD right now if you want to rewind a little bit. You can always just go to my channel, videos, and this VOD is already being posted. So you can always just watch from the beginning if you would like. Or you can stick around. Either way is fine. It's up to you. You want to see the design? Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, so this is what it's going to look like when we're done. This is the app side. We just did all the boring server side stuff, and when we get back, we're going to do the fun app side stuff. Well, I shouldn't say boring and fun. It's all relative, right? You going to try to catch up? Okay. Yeah, Champo. I'm glad you got one part of it working. That's a little bit of progress, right? And yeah, like the VOD is always available, so you can always just rewind and pause as you need to. Okay, Chrysanto, no problem at all. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the timer. We got to take a break. Reset. And timer is going now. We'll see you all back here in 5 minutes, and we will get to some app building. It's okay, folks. You've still got like 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. I just actually have like a technical question for the group, and I don't want to take up actual, stream time for it. So curious if anybody has any ideas. So I have a brand new monitor, but it's not the monitor that I am actually presenting on. I'm presenting on my secondary monitor that I used to use for notes because Twitch Studio will not recognize my shiny new primary monitor, and I do not know why. Um, my primary monitor is an LG Ultra Gear QHD monitor. It's really nice. It's like 27 inches. It's really big, really sharp, but Twitch Studio does not like it. And I don't know why. And it's driving me nuts. I know I'm live. Yeah. I'm actually asking a question. I'm actually asking a question to the group right now. I just don't want to take up like actual stream time to do it. I'm just curious if anybody has any ideas. Yeah. Um, but everybody can still be on break. I'm just kind of talking to the void here. Um, drivers from LG. Yeah, I tried. I went to the site and I downloaded drivers. I didn't see a difference. I've been playing with resolution. I've been playing with like turning HDR on and off. I've been playing with like turning the frame rate or the refresh rate down. I don't know what to do, man. Yeah, connecting. Okay, I guess I didn't try unplugging my smaller monitor and then just using the single one. Because previously I've always had a two monitor setup, right? And then I got this brand new shiny monitor, which I really love, but Twitch Studio doesn't like it. So I don't know. Yeah, my computer recognizes the display. And what's super weird is that Twitch Studio, if I just focus on a single application on the monitor, like if I just have it focus on VS Code, then it works. Like if I have VS Code open on this monitor and I just say, "Hey, Twitch Studio, just focus on VS Code and, don't display anything else," then it works. But if I try to display the entire screen, which is kind of necessary for like what we're doing, right? Like I need to be able to see multiple applications at once, then it doesn't work. It's just a black screen. So I'm very confused. Yeah. I do not know what's happening. I can't like I've tried googling it and I haven't found any results of people having the same problem. So I'm so confused. And I've tried it in like multiple, plugging it into more than one, display port in case there was something weird about that. I don't know, man. Well, I see that's the thing. I've tried switching like primary, secondary, and I've always had a two monitor setup, and it's never been a problem. And it sees both monitors. Twitch Studio can see both monitors. It just, and I even looked at the log file. Like I looked at the log file for Twitch Studio and it said could not like what did it say could not parse display or something like that, and it crashed out of trying to even display it. So there's a legit error in the log file. I don't know what's happening. So I don't know. I'm super confused. Um, I could run studio. Yeah, I could try running Twitch Studio as admin. Yeah. Okay, and that's enough of my rambling for now. Like I say, I mean, there's nothing wrong. I can use this smaller monitor to stream on. It's no problem. It's just I have so much more real estate on my new monitor because it has a higher resolution. It's QHD, so I could have much more streaming room, but instead you get my tiny monitor. It's all good though. 16 by 9 piece. Yeah, I'm trying to do 16 by 9. I could try like 4 by 3 and see if that works. Yeah, it could be something weird with the resolution. Um, yeah, that's a good idea. I could try it. I could try switching the aspect ratio and try that. I'll mess with it a little bit before my next stream. Okay, so welcome back. Oh, you got everything working. Good. A couple folks did. That's awesome. And blind, okay, because it was a naming thing. Yeah. And I think too, if you look in the terminal, it does tell you if the name is invalid, but it's not very clear, right? Like here, the only way I could tell that my name had a problem was just this little bitty exclamation point there. So it's not super obvious, right? Yeah. So yeah, we can't share the same name because the URL that it assigns has to be unique. So Hey, Taco, we've made a lot of progress. Taco, we have think about what we've done so far. We've built an API, like an actual API. We've built it, and I'm going to turn my webcam on. And we have made it so it's public, and anybody could go and get stuff from this API because we deployed it to Heroku. So it is a public API now, which is pretty neat if I do say so myself. Yes. Yeah, I thought I had it on 16 by 9 piece, but I will double check that. It could be that that's wrong. Yeah. I don't know. Is there a GitHub repo? Yeah, type exclamation point GitHub quantum. Type exclamation point GitHub. The only thing I will caution is that just looking at the GitHub code, is not necessarily going to help you with like the terminal commands. But if you're trying to find an error in your actual like server code, then yeah, it'll definitely help. Hey, Twisted, you got it working. That's rad. Nice. Okay, so we have done all the server side stuff. Good for us. We are done with that. So essentially, we're done with this part of the project. We have done all the server side stuff. So can I show my HTML? Yeah, there's really nothing there. I have an H1 that says welcome to the API, and that's it. There is nothing else there because we don't need anything else there, right? Let's think about that. Why don't we need anything in our HTML? Because essentially, this API is just it only exists to serve JSON back to apps. We don't need no user interface. This isn't a website. It's an API. It's just meant to throw JSON out to apps. Yeah. And yeah, Peace. I am so back to my monitor issue. I'm not trying to stream in more than 1080p. My stream is set to 1080p, so it should down res it. Like I know Leon's got like a 4K display, so it should be possible to just down res it to 1080p, which is how I have it set. But I don't know. You've given me some stuff to look at, and so between streams, I will definitely check out a couple things. Yeah. Okay, so we're done with this part. Done. Cool. So if for some reason you weren't able to get your server working, if you want to keep following along and build out the app, you can just hit my API if you prefer. So you can go to here. Let me just grab it. You can use this URL in your app. This is the URL to my API. And so you can just hit that instead of your own, and then you can get your API working later if you would like to do so. Sorry, let me just get this. So this right here. So you can hit this if you couldn't get your API working when we build the app. You can hit mine instead. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to the app side. We've done the server side work. Now we're going to build our app. All right, and the app is going to exist completely independently of the server. Right? Yeah, and piece of shoot. If mine doesn't work, you can use piece of shoots as well. Yes. So the app itself is going to exist completely independently of the server, right? As it should. When I build an app that hits an API out there on the web, I have nothing to do with that API. I'm just fetching from it. Okay. So this app is going to be independent. Now, I'm actually going to just start up a brand new folder for my app. We've done the server stuff. We don't need it anymore. I am going to just open a new window, and we're going to work in that instead. I'm even going to close this. We don't need it anymore. We've built it. We've deployed it. It's done. I might regret that. I might regret closing that if I make a mistake, but hey, who knows? We're living on the edge. YOLO. All right. And I'm also going to create a new folder to put this in as well. You don't have to, but I'm just going to, in my other window here, I'm just going to make on my big monitor that doesn't work properly. I'm going to make a new folder. I've got so much space over here. You guys don't even know. And then I got to stream on this dinky little thing. All right. I'm just going to create a new folder, Star Trek app demo. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and open that. And it's totally empty. And now this is where we're going to build our app. Okay. And now we should actually be a little bit more familiar with what we're going to be doing here. So regardless of, forget all the formatting and stuff for now, let's just think brass tacks and think about, okay, I've deployed this super cool, so much room for activities, exactly. I've deployed this super cool like server and it's sitting out there on the web somewhere. So if I want to build an app that's able to hit that, and I did mention this earlier, but see if you caught it. If I want to build an app that can hit an API, what do I need? What do I use in order to do that? Hey, TJ Khan, welcome. We've just deployed our API out in there into the World Wide Web. Got some good guests there. Don't think super complicated. Don't think super complicated. How have we always hit APIs in the past? For like the past month or two, what do we do when we hit APIs? HTML and JavaScript. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Andrea. Yeah. Chad and Andrea, you've got it. Just a fetch. We're just going to have a JavaScript. We're going to have a regular JavaScript file with a fetch. We don't got to get crazy. We're just going to fetch from our API because our API is already giving us everything that we need. All we got to do is go out there. We got to fetch that JSON, and then we got to drop it in the DOM. So it doesn't got to be super crazy. How many dogs do I have? I have 2 dogs. And my shirt says more dogs, less people, but I don't mean that in like a malicious way. I just mean that in like, I like dogs. So I was loud and wrong. No, I mean, we are reading, right? We are reading from our API. So no, you're not wrong. XML. And we're going to stick with JSON. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm going to, hang on one second. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make my HTML. Oops. Sorry. Index.html. Yeah. Index.html. And I'm going to make my JavaScript folder as well. Main.js. So just like we started in the other one, just our 2 basics that we need. And we'll get to the CSS and stuff last. Like we're not going to really focus on that just yet. We're going to focus on getting the basics working and then we'll add all the cool funky styling, right? Okay, so in JavaScript, we've already said that I need some kind of a fetch request, right? Now a fetch is considered what? It's considered what type of a request? All the cat people just left the stream. Yeah, it's a promise. It's a promise. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to need a function that is going to behave asynchronously in some way. There's a bunch of different ways we could do that. We could do that using promises, like classic promise syntax, right? Promise, then catch, etc. But let's be a little bit more modern and let's use async. Let's make an async function, okay? And which I think is going to be clearer and easier to read. So we'll go ahead and do that. And so I'm going to write the function, and we'll need an event listener in there somewhere as well. But let's just go ahead and get the function going going first. So if I want an async function, I need to rearrange my windows here a little bit. There we go. If I want an async function, it's pretty easy. I can just do async function. All right. And I'm going to just call it API request. API request. Because that's what we're doing, right? We're going to be hitting the API of our own design. And so inside of this async function, I'm obviously going to have a fetch of some kind. And And actually, I'm going to pause here for just a second. Let's add a couple elements to our HTML. We're going to add a couple elements to our HTML just to help sort of tie together kind of what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to, inside of my HTML, I'm just going to set up a couple basic things here. Whoops. Index, there we go. And I'm going to type HTML5, get that. And I'm going to add an H1 Star Trek app. We're going to make this a lot prettier, but we're just, oh, I don't have Emmet piece of shoot, so I don't think that'll work for me. Good suggestion though. So, and then we're going to add an input because we want people to be able to put in a species name, right? And then get data back. Oh, sorry. Does it need to be bigger? Is it too small? I can make the text a little bit bigger. Oh, I do have it? Okay, cool. I thought you'd said it was Emmet earlier. I apologize, piece of shoot. I must have misunderstood. So let me just make this a little bigger. Is it settings? I think it's in settings. All right. Size, font size. I can make this a little bigger for you. Make it 22. See if that works. Is that better? Can't spell. Is that better? Okay, good. Yeah, so Control Plus does work, but it makes the whole like view, it makes the view smaller because it makes like all the elements bigger. So I try to just control font size. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have our H1. At the very least, we're gonna need some kind of an input box, and we're gonna need a button for users to submit when they're ready to submit. So we're gonna just add an input. It's gonna have a type of text. And that's really all of that needs there. And then we're gonna have, I'm probably gonna miss something here, but we're gonna have a button, and that button should just say click to get info. Okay, good. I'm glad it's big enough for folks now. Good deal. Okay, and I think I need to sneeze. So uno momento, por favor. Okay, nope, think I'm good. Sorry. Okay, so we have our basics. This is really the only basics that we need. We should be able to hopefully trigger the rest of our stuff off of this now, just to get the basics working, and then we're going to add a bunch more formatting. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? No, Star Trek, actually. Good guess, though. Bye, Gavintor. Yeah, feel free to catch the VOD. Okay, so we've got our button and we've got our input box set up. So I'm just going to launch it real quick and make sure that it works, like just the HTML works. I don't really care about anything else yet. Yeah, okay, so we've got our, we've got our, input box, and we got our button. So that's all we need for now. And cool. Now we're going to go back to our JavaScript. Yes, we're gonna link the JavaScript. I was just making sure that I didn't code any of the elements wrong, because I want to make sure everything was displaying okay. And we're gonna link the script and do all that stuff. Don't worry. Yep. Thanks for the reminder though, because I have forgotten that before, but not this time. I remembered it for once. Yep. We'll link that last, I think. But yeah, don't let me forget. Remind me again. All right. So now that we have the button, we can actually set up an event listener and come do things in the right order. So I'm going to go ahead and do document dot query selector, and I'm just going to do that on button. So when the button is clicked, I want to add an event listener, or Smurf if you prefer. I prefer event listener. And we're going to do that on click. And then we're going to, on click, we want to run our API request function. Okay. API request. Cool. And I can make this a little bigger too. There. Okay. So now inside of our function, we're going to want to do a couple things. The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get the content of our input box. Okay. And we're going to want to assign that content preferably to some kind of a variable that we can use and pass along into other things. So I think we've probably done this a lot, right? This isn't our first rodeo with grabbing something from an input box. So if I wanted to get, let's just do this. We're going to do const alien name is going to be my variable because it's the species name that we want folks to put in there. I'm going to do document.query selector. It's going to be on an input box. Now, if I want to get the the contents of an input box, what do I need to put here? I need to put dot something. What do I put? Anybody know? Yeah, you guys know. Y'all got it. I can't even spell value. Perfect. Okay, so I've grabbed that value and I've assigned it to a variable. Now, since I'm in an async function, I'm going to go ahead. The next thing I'm going to do is my fetch request. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in a try catch block. And so what that'll do is it'll try the fetch and see if it can complete all the fetch actions. And if it can't, then it's going to pitch it down to the catch and it'll just, throw an error for us. So we're just going to wrap this in a try catch. Catch. And we're going to put stuff in there. Okay. So, the next thing, like I said, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my fetch. So I'm going to assign that fetch value to a variable called response, because if I do a fetch, I'm going to get some kind of a response back, and I'm going to want to use that response to determine what I do next. So const response equals, now I'm in an async function, and I know we haven't done too much with asynchronous functions yet, but if I want to kind of force a step order, if I want to force operations to happen in a certain order, what do I need? What do I need to put in front of my fetch? Yeah, and some folks are already getting there. I need to say const response await the fetch. I need to wait for the fetch to be finished before I proceed. I need to stop, hold your horses, stop everything, and wait until the fetch is done and I have that response before I try to do anything else. I don't want to let my code get ahead of itself, right? So I need to await the fetch. Okay, now what am I fetching? Normally, I'm fetching whatever API I'm trying to hit. So really, this is no different. I am trying to fetch from my own URL. For the fetch to be fetched. Exactly, Burra. Exactly. So you need to get the URL of your API, whatever that is, or you can use mine. I don't really care. So I'm just going to grab that super quick. Not that I want. I'm going to just grab the basic URL, right? Just going to grab that. And then we're going to add some stuff to it, but let's just start with the basic URL and then we'll see what we need to add. Okay. So, and I need to make sure, it needs to be a string, put it in quotes. Actually, no, sorry, put it in ticks, put it in backticks. Tick, tick, cool. Okay. All right, so that's the basic URL. However, if I want to get API data back, I need to conform to the rules of my server so it knows when to pitch that API data back to us, right? So I need to add what I told my server it should be expecting, which is API / something, right? API / in our case, it's going to be the name of an alien species, which is what our users should be putting in that box, the input box, right? API, yes, exactly, piece of shoot. It's going to be API, And then we're going to use a literal here. It's going to be alien name. Here we go. So that will build the correct URL for us. And we've done this before, right? This is no different than hitting any other API that you've ever done. So I'm sure if some folks are like, ugh, so boring, we've done this, we know what you're doing. But I'm hoping that if doing this as an asynchronous function might just be fresh enough that I'm not boring everybody to death. So hopefully. But if y'all are like, Mayan, we got this, just go a little faster, that's fine. I'm happy to go faster. But hopefully async is a little fresh for you. Okay, so we've got our response. Oh, good, Chad. Good. Okay, good. Repetition, great. Good deal. Okay, so we've got our response. So, and remember, when we use a wait, we're literally we're stopping our code. We're stopping our code until the thing is done. So we're awaiting the response. So in this case, we have our response. Cool, whatever that might be. And so the next thing we want to do is take that response and turn it into JSON, because that is what our app is going to be expecting is JSON, and it's going to pull it apart and put it in the DOM. Okay, so the next thing we're going to say is, all right, const data. Now take that response and turn it into JSON. Yes. Okay. So const data equals, we're going to await the response dot JSON. Okay, next thing is, all right, so we get a response, we convert that response to JSON, and we assign it to the variable of data. Now, if I were to console log this data, what I should expect to see is some lovely JSON, a lovely object of some kind in my console. That's what I would hope I would see. So, and we can actually put a console log in there just for kicks. I always usually like to have, whenever I'm hitting an API, I like to put a console log in there of just the raw result. So if I go wrong somewhere down the line, I can at least see that I'm getting what I expect from the API and then correct my mistake. So console log data, I always do this, console log data. And now we can actually start grabbing that information and assigning it in various places. This is the way. Yeah. And I will save. Yep. Go ahead. There we go. All right. And I'm going to do the stretch. So yeah, there we go. Stretch. Oof. Stiffen the shoulders. Okay, cool. So console logging the data. Now let's go ahead and fill in our catch as well. And then we can just test this real quick and see if we get what we expect. And also too, I'm gonna link my JavaScript, my JavaScript script. Hydrate. Thank you. So got some cold tea in my big mug. All right, and then like my catch doesn't have to be anything fancy. We're just gonna catch the error if there is one. Whoops. Hey, stop it. VS Code. Don't try to autocomplete me. You don't autocomplete me. And then we're just going to console log an error if it happens. There. Okay. I did not link it earlier because I live on the edge. I live dangerously. And we're going to link it. Go ahead and link it down here at the bottom of our body. This is how I get my kicks, is not immediately linking my JavaScript scripts. Source is going to be main.js. Yes. All right. That should do it. Living on the edge. I know. I'm wild. Sometimes I have 2 saltines for dessert. All right. Gonna save it. Now, hopefully we should be able to go ahead and enter something in that box, hit our API, and get the appropriate results in the console. So let's test that out. And I am live still. Okay, good. All right. Let's try it. Vulcans. Okay, we won't see anything here. We're just going to inspect and look at the console. Object, look at that, hey! Nice. It works. Woo. Frazee, good job. Yeah, it works. We got it. Okay, so now that we've got the basics, now we can start having a little bit more fun. We have the linkage working. This is what I always do first. I make the most bare bones thing I can possibly make, get all of my wiring, like, all the wires linked together, get all your wiring hooked up, and then make it pretty, right? It's like a car. You're building the wiring harness for the car, and then you're putting in the seats and the dashboard and stuff. Gotta get all the stuff under the hood working first, and that's what we've done. So now we can have a little fun and make it pretty. All right, first try. Yeah, thank you. Very nice. We do have power. We have a lot of power now. We have the power to power apps with whatever data we want, whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be. It could be anything. What I want to see is I want to see folks tag me on Twitter if they build a cool little API and based on this stream, if they build something cool, tag me on Twitter so that I can see it. ! Twitter if you're not following me. Because I want to see what I look at every single person that adds me on Twitter. I read what you write and I usually like it. So do you get the object at all, Dev? Do you see like the results? Do you see the whether or not it says object? It could be that you're using a different browser. Okay, so you get that's fine. Yeah, Chrome this is just the way that Chrome displays it. So as long as you see this stuff, you'll be able to use it. Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah, we can go back to the code. Yeah. So don't forget to link your script if you didn't already. Set your script source, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay. And this is all that we have in the main.js right now. You have something in mind, but you have to steal data from another API or borrow. Yeah. Just don't, if you do use somebody else's data, just maybe credit them, right? Say, hey, data source is such and such API. Just to be nice. I link it at the end, and that's because, so link the styling at the beginning, JavaScript at the end, because at the very least, if the page isn't able to load, at the very least, you can serve up the HTML, which will give the basic page information, even if the script can't load. Almost caught up. Hey. Okay. Are you good, Jay? Do you see what you need? Because we're gonna keep on trucking here in a minute. Yeah, build a scraper for a Star Trek wiki to fill the API in Mongo. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. I did the manual scraping earlier today. I mean, actually, not to brag, but a lot of it I was able to do from memory. But for some of the notable notable people, I did have to go to the wiki. But a lot of it was straight up out of my brain, which is either really amazing or really sad. I don't know which one. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I used to read all the novels too. I read all of the Star Trek novels and stuff. Yeah, a scraper, yeah, can sort of autonomously look at a data source of some kind and it's like it scrapes the data that you want and it returns it to you so you can use it. I do enjoy it, piece of shoot. Yes. Okay. New episode of Strange New World. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Is that I don't have a Paramount license, so I'm kind of being strategic about when I do get one, so that I can binge as much as possible. Because if I get one, I'm probably not going to keep it. It's going to be for a limited time only. Okay. So I'm going to assume that folks are following so far. So we're gonna start adding additional elements, because right now we have this data, we're console logging it, but we aren't writing it to the DOM yet because we really don't have anywhere to put it. So we're going to add a little bit to our HTML so that we have some places where we can drop this information. Jenna, we aren't using Heroku for this. Are you talking about this, like the app that we're currently on? Are you back on the server? Are you back on the server code? Because Jenna, we don't have to do Heroku for this. I think this is an important thing to understand. This is why I did 2 separate projects for this. This is why I broke this into 2 parts, right? We did all the server side stuff first, and we deployed that up to Heroku. That's done. But think about this. Whenever we build an app of our own, we can deploy it to Netlify or whatever if we want, but we don't have to. We're treating this like a regular app and in a cloud API situation. They're completely separate. We just happen to be coding them both. They are 2 separate things. We are building our app, which is going to hit the API, but it doesn't have to interact with it in any other way. This part is just the client, exactly. So we built the server side already. That's done. We don't got to deploy it or push or anything. We aren't pushing our client app to Heroku because it's not a server app. It is an app for the client, for us. Yeah, Twisted. That was what was a little bit, I think, hard to understand with the way that Leon did it, where everything was in the same folder, because it doesn't give you that clear separation of what's actually happening, right? We have something happening on the server, and we have something happening on the client side, and they are 2 separate things. You could build these things at 2 separate times. We just happen to be building them, in the same stream. Yeah. Totally separate folders, separate projects. I even did them as separate repos in my GitHub, just because I wanted to be super clear. Leon was going fast, yeah, and I totally get it. I'm sure he's gonna slow it way down on Thursday. I wanted it to be a little bit more clear about what's actually happening, because even in the Zell tutorial that we did, it wasn't entirely clear because we kept switching back and forth between server and client apps, right? Like in the tutorial that we did on Sunday, we were switching back and forth all the time, and so it wasn't clear that there is a literal separation there. What job did the course play on the API end? So that was just the only reason I added that was just because that in class on Tuesday, Leon actually got an error when he tried to first initialize his server. And it just said it was CORS related. So he just enabled CORS and that fixed it. So I just kind of did it preemptively. I didn't even know if it was going to be a problem. I was just like, well, it's not going to hurt. So, Jenna, I'm not sure okay, yeah. So yeah, you understand. Okay, good. You got it. Good. I wanted to make sure I answered your question, Jenna. All right. Yeah, safety. We should have done like a git ignore so that we didn't upload a bunch of modules, but yeah, but that's all right. It's okay. We'll be fine. Oh, and thank you for sharing that article piece of shoot. I'll have to read that because I still don't fully understand CORS. I think Rascal has explained it to me before, and then it just kind of went pew out my other ear. So, not Rascal's fault, just my brain didn't absorb it at the time. So, okay. So let's make things a little prettier. We have the data, we need someplace to put it. So in that case, we're going to go ahead and spruce up our HTML file a little bit more. Now, you have, so here, let me think about this for a second. Let me think about how I want to do this. Forgive me one second. Let's do this. We have a little bit of a 2 roads diverging in a road in a wood. We can pick 2 paths. You can, if you want to do the Lcars styling, like my app has, like the full app has, we can go down that road, or we can just do the basic styling and just get the data in place. There's not a huge difference, but just letting you know that that's something to think about, which one we want to do. Do we want to make it look like this? Like this? Sorry, not like that. Where's my app? Where is it? I lost it. Did I close it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, sorry. Do we want to make it full style? Okay, Lcars. We want Lcars. Okay, that's all right. Good. I can dig it. Okay. So this is what the full thing will look like then. We'll go ahead and do the full styling. And it's not a huge difference. I'll just guide you through where to get the files and that kind of thing so that you can do the same styling. Lcars is the layout of all the computers in Star Trek. Yeah, that's what LCAR stands for: Library Computer Access and Retrieval. And it's the way that it's this color scheme. It's the way these buttons look. It's a very standard look for all the computers in Star Trek, and it's very cool. I friggin' love it. So we're gonna make it look like that, blinky lights and everything. Okay, sounds fun. In that case, let's just start out by just making sort of places to drop in our data, and then we'll make some modifications to it as we go in order to add the appropriate tags and things so that our styling will work correctly. So probably the easiest way to find places to drop our data is to just, like, for example, I'm talking about like the species name, the home world, all that stuff, is to just put it into a list. So I'm going to add a list. And I'm just going to add my UL and LI tags. And I'm going to have, let's see, how many list items do I need? I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 list items for all of my API properties, I guess. Oh, you did one of your internal websites at work that looks like my site? That's rad. That's so cool. Somebody at your work must be a fan. Yeah. Okay, and so I have my list items, and then inside of those list items, I'm going to go ahead and put a span that's going to contain like the name of the property, right? Because we want to display to the user what you're showing them. So we're going to go ahead and put like a span in there. So span, and piece of shoot says Control C. We'll copy the whole line. Okay, try it. I've already kind of, well, let's just see what happens. Okay. Oh, nice. Thanks, piece of shoot. Yeah, so it's actually adding, additional lines in there, but that's all right. I'll just get rid of these. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Okay, and so my various properties are, so inside of this first span, oh, freeze you, no problem. Yeah, go ahead and catch the vibe. That's what it's there for. So inside the first one, my first property is going to be species name. And then I'm going to create another span in here that's going to hold the result. Right. So this span isn't going to change. And the second one is going to go ahead and hold the results. Oops. There we go. Okay. So we're going to have 2 spans next to each other because they are in line, right? Next one is going to be home world. I almost said homework. Home world. And then next one is going to be distinguishing features. Watch me spell distinguishing. It's not going to be pretty. Distinguishing. Oh my gosh, I think I got it. Features. All right. And next we'll have interesting facts. Possibly plural. And next we will have notable examples. So that's like the people, like Abraham Lincoln is a good example of a human. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Smago. Yeah. Nice. Good tips on the shorthand there. Thank you. I'll read back through chat later and grab those. I probably won't be able to put them in my brain space like while we're actually doing this, but I do appreciate those suggestions. I'll try to get them in my brain later on. Okay, so we've got our list, but you notice that if we look back at our properties here that we actually put into this, there's one thing that we haven't included yet. So we've got our name, homeworld, features, facts, examples, homeworld. So we got name, homeworld, features, facts, notable examples. The last thing that we need to also incorporate is the image, right? The image. So we're going to want to put the image somewhere, obviously. And I'm going to put it above my list for reasons that will become clear a little bit later on. Just trust me for now. It just has to do with the formatting when we get into the CSS. Okay, so I'm going to put it in a div. I would want to put it in a section normally, but the way this CSS is, I want to be sure that it's going to pick it up. So it's going to be in a div. You wait till you see the CSS. You're going to love it. And I'm going to give that div a class of, pix right. That's when we get into the CSS, that's going to automatically align it in the appropriate place. And then inside of that div, I'm going to go ahead and put an image tag. And I'm going to give that image just an empty source for now, because we're going to manually set the image source. You could put a default, like a placeholder image in there if you wanted to. It might make it look better, actually. I just don't have any placeholder images right now. So image source is going to be empty for now. I'm going to put some alt text in there just because I like to help folks with screen readers. So we'll just say alien image. And we're going to give it a class of border. Again, in the CSS, that's going to give it a border. And then I'm also going to give it an ID. And that's going to be for when we assign it, when we want to target it with our JSON, when we want to give it that JSON image. We're going to want to target it specifically, grab the ID and drop that image in the source. So alien image is going to be the ID. And I'm also going to add a caption underneath. So it's going to have a class of caption, again, for styling purposes. And an ID of alien caption, so I can hit it with the appropriate title. Alien caption, and I'm just going to give it some default text of photo. Okay. Hydrate, thank you. Got about 5 minutes before our next break, so we'll finish up the HTML. And then when we get back from break, it's super exciting because if you have your HTML done right, we can just drop the CSS in there and it's going to look amazing. You're going to drop that CSS in there like a ton of bricks and it's just going to work. Thank you. So Mitch, I do have set days for my stream. If you look at my Twitch channel, there's a tab on my homepage called schedule, and you'll be able to see my schedule there, but I am on Wednesdays and Sundays. There's been a couple nights here recently where I've had to miss a day or I've done an alternate day. But if you want to really be apprised of my schedule, follow me on Twitter, !Twitter, to get my Twitter. Follow me there, and I always, without fail, will post on like my stream days. I will post saying what I'm going to stream about, reminding you of the time and the date and potentially any schedule changes. So that's where you get the most up-to-date information, is on Twitter from me. Yep. Having to not fight with CSS makes your day. Yeah. Yeah. Wait until you see this CSS. You ain't going to want to fight with it. Yeah, there you go. You got my Twitter. Awesome. Okay. So let's, we've got our input. We've got our div for the image. We've got our list. Okay. So we need to clean up our input a little bit in order for it to register properly. So, our button, we need to clean up our button a little bit for it to register properly with the CSS. So our input box is okay. We're going to leave the input box as is. We don't need to change it. The button, however, we need to actually change this into a div with an anchor tag inside of it. Okay. So get rid of the button and change it to a div. Just this is how it has to be for the CSS to pick it up. Okay. And we're going to put an anchor tag inside of it. And in our div is going to have a class of buttons, which makes a ton of sense, right? Buttons, and our anchor tag is going to have a class of sunflower because that's the color it's going to be. Yes, Amelia, you're going to have to copy the CSS manually. We're not going to hand type it, I promise, because wait until you see it. It's a trip. So we're just going to drop, like I said, we're just going to drop that bad boy in there. We ain't going to type it out. I don't think you physically could. I think it was generated by some kind of like graphical program or something because it's bazonkers. All right, so our class is sunflower. Our ID is going to be get button. Sorry, get button. Yep. And inside of our anchor tag, just our button text is just going to say get info. Okay. And that should do that. What that's going to do is it's going to format our button like one of the Lcars button with the nice rounded corners and everything. Yeah. Okay, so that's good for our button. We did our pix formatting. Now we need to do just a little bit more formatting on our list. So on our list right here, we're going to need to add a few things so that the CSS will pick it up. And I'm not going to put in my anchor tag, I'm actually not going to put an href because we're not linking to our URL. Think about what are we doing with this button, right? On click, we aren't going somewhere. We're triggering a function, right? So we don't need a ref. We don't need an href. No href for us. Yeah. Good question, though. Good question. Okay. So our list, we're going to format as a class. We're going to give it a class of Lcars list. And if you're tired of typing HTML, you can grab this from my GitHub too. I'm not going to be mad. I'm just typing it out because I think it's good to practice HTML now and then. And all right, and I need to also, so that's an Lcars list, perfect. I'm going to add some classes because we have this first span where we're telling the user what we're giving them, but we're also going to need to be able to target and drop our JSON results into the appropriate locations, right? So our second span, I'm going to give it an ID of alien name. That's what we're giving it. And then my next span, actually, I'm just going to copy this whole thing. So we're going to have two spans next to each other inside of each list item, right? Does that make sense? My next one is going to be alien features. My next one is going to be alien facts. And then my last one is going to be, sorry, my, I'm off by one. Alien world. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm off by one line. Go me. Alien features. We got world, we got features. Next is facts. And last is examples. Okay, that'll help our JSON get to the right place. Yeah, thank you for catching that, Cube. You got it. Yeah. All right, so that should link everything up for JSON purposes. Now, I'm going to save this, and I need to do, let's see. Oh, sorry. And I forgot to, above my text up here, I'm going to add some additional text. Feel free to copy and paste this from GitHub. I'm just going to add some sort of flavor text up here at the top for like basically what this is. It's the field guide to aliens, and some stuff about if you're visiting this, here's what you need to do. Oh, hey, Full Stack. Welcome. We're doing some fun stuff today. We have built an API and we've deployed it to Heroku. And now we're building an app that's going to fetch from that API. So we're just learning how APIs and apps, relate to each other and also how to build both sides. So we've built a public API and now we're building an app to hit it. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay. And the HTML is always the boring part, right? Yeah. Now, here's the part where I would suggest there's some more HTML to copy. I would highly suggest just grabbing it from my GitHub because it's going to be too much to type. Okay. So you could also go to the Lcars website and download the file there, but it's probably quicker to do it from GitHub. There's just a bunch of like default HTML stuff that's required for the styling. We've got all the meat that's done, but you're probably going to want to copy and paste the rest of it. So if you're copying and pasting from my GitHub, which repo? Yeah, so it's the Star Trek here. I'll open it up so everybody can see. And let's see. Let's see. Repositories. It's the Star Trek client. Okay. Oh, yeah, where is my index.html? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's called Lcars Classic in my version. I apologize. That's confusing. Yeah, it's Lcars Classic. So feel free to just copy and paste the whole thing if you want. Yeah, it's this one right here, the HTML file. This. And you can see there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's outside of the meat of what we were doing that's just necessary for the styling. So feel free to just grab the whole thing if you want and drop that in to replace your HTML. Okay. Does everybody have it? I can link you directly to it as well. There we go. That's a direct link if you weren't able to find it. Okay. And that's actually what I'm going to do too. I'm going to grab my own code. And just drop it in. Oops. I think I screwed that up. There. Okay. Now, the only other thing to check is to make sure that you're linking to the appropriate, like I have my JavaScript on the same level as my HTML. So just make sure. And then there's another file in there called lcars.javascript, which will give you some animations for your page as well. So feel free to grab lcars.javascript as well. If you would like those, like the blinky animations for things. So also on the GitHub, there is lcars.js. And so feel free to grab that, which I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to grab lcars.js and I'm going to get the raw. There's not a lot. And I'm going to create just an lcars.js. Drop that in. And it's going to do some fun animations if you want it. There. So now both of those should work. And now, do we want to take a break now? Or to give you some time to sort out your files and make sure you've got everything? Or do you want to just go ahead and drop the CSS in now? I'm leaving it up to you all. You want to do now? Drop. Let's drop the beat. All right, let's drop the CSS. Okay, so I'm going to assume that everybody has been to the GitHub, that you've grabbed the files. And we can see that, we've got all of our classes, we've got everything in here. And we've got all our list stuff. I'm just checking real quick. Yeah, we've got all text and buttons. All right, I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to go back to the GitHub one more time, and I'm going to show you the CSS. And it's probably the most gnarliest CSS you've ever seen. And here it is. Lcars Classic Min CSS. You can call it whatever you want. Just know that it is linked as this name in the script. So you might want to name it the same thing. But let's look at it. Oh boy, it's all one big line. Yeah. One liner, baby. Code wars. Yeah, we code wars up in here. All right. I'm just going to get the raw and grab the entire thing. Okay. Where's my mouse? Hang on. There. Okay. And Lcars classic.min.css. Okay. And I'm going to just create a new Lcars classic.min.css. Okay. That's my CSS file there. Making sure I named that right. All right. I'm going to drop the whole thing in. Let's see. I think I got that right. Yeah, it's nasty. Look how long that is. Look at that. Look at that nonsense. Look at it. Is it the most garbage thing you've ever seen? Clearly, it was he did it in some kind of graphics program, and it just spat it out like that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Piece of shoot says if we enable auto format in VS Code, we'll see it properly. How do I do that, piece of shoot? Yeah, it was probably, I'm sure it was auto-generated somehow. 2151 lines formatted. Whoo, boy. Okay, well, let's see if it is actually working, if we've made a mistake somewhere. It gave us some errors in the console. But it worked. Yeah, because like here's the original one. Here's the one I shared with you at the start of the stream. So this is the new one. This is it. And yeah, so here it is. Let's see now. Let's see if we can hit it. It's going. Yes, it is. It is. Yes. And doesn't it look pretty? So let's see if we can hit it. All right, let's try humans. Now, theoretically, this is just going to go ahead and hit our Heroku API and spit us back what we want. Lcars go burr, indeed. Let's see. Is it going to work? Oh no. But it's not working though. We gotta fix it. Let's try another one. So something's broken, but we're close. So maybe we'll take a break and we'll fix it. We'll fix it when we get back. Yeah, it's not working. It would have returned by now. So I'm sure it's something simple. I'm sure it's something like, oh, because the error. What's the error? Full? Oh, okay. It's just an event listener. Yeah, that's an easy fix. Let's fix it. Easy fix, baby. Yeah, it's just a problem with the way I set up the event listener. I think I just have a yeah, that's right. I just need to change the association with the event listener in my JavaScript. So easy fix, easy peasy, baby. All right. I need my main JS and my event. It's no longer a button, right? We don't have a button anymore. What we have instead is a thing with an ID of, see, it has a class of buttons, but it has an ID of get button. Yeah. So we just need to change that. And earlier, I'm curious if if it'll have the same problem, but earlier when I was using query selector, just like on get button like this, yeah. Oh, that's right. I need the hashtag too. Yeah. So, and now I think it's also not going to, and we, you know what we didn't do? And we also didn't do all the assignments of the stuff into the individual elements on our list. So we need to do that too. I got ahead of myself. I wanted it to look pretty, and then I forgot to actually finish the content. Ain't that how it goes? I was chasing the pretty look of it, and then I forgot to finish the content. That's why I always do content first. It does look amazing, right? Yeah, looks so slick. Okay, so that should fix the error anyway. Let's make sure the error is fixed if I save this. Yeah, the error is gone. And so now I should at least get the console log. So if I do Vulcans, I should at least get a console log here. So we'll make sure that that's working. Hey, there we go. So it's hitting our API. Now the last thing we need to do is just drop that stuff into the list items. So keep going or break. Up to you. I don't care either way. We've got this is the last thing we need to do is just set up these list items. Break. Okay. 5 minutes. And then this last thing that we're going to do is just literally assign the inner text of each of these list items, and then we'll be done. Okay. Oh, and also the image tag as well. Put the thing in the image, and then we'll be done. All right. But yeah, doesn't this look pretty? I love it. This is just an amazing template. I love whoever made this. Whoever made this is amazing. And I'll share their website again at the end, and so that way you can follow them on Twitter. Okay, so I'm gonna get the timer going. I'm gonna put it. Let's see. I'm gonna put it over here so that we can stare at this while it goes because it's so pretty. Reset the timer and start. All right, I'll see you back here shortly. Cube, I saw that. You tried to be sneaky over break, but I saw that Prime subscription. Thank you so much. It's awesome. Spending Jeff Bezos' money. I like it. Let's all spend our Prime subscriptions and whittle down his fortune just a little bit. Hey, good guitar guy. Check out what we've built here. The item on the left there, that's the app that we've just built, and we're just finishing it up now. Yeah. So good guitar guy, if you want to see how we did this, you can check out the VOD on my Twitch channel. On you should see it, just under my videos. I have the VODs there, and you can always start from the beginning if you would like. We're just finishing up a break now, guitar guy, but we'll be back to it in just a minute. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like the vibe. We have a lot of fun here. Oh, you got your API key to work, Chanpo? What'd you have to do? What was the problem? All right, folks, we got about a minute left. Come on back if you're coming back. We've only got a couple more things to do in order to finish out our app here. What HTML elements is CSS would be targeting? Dropping the CSS in like that and it all working. Okay, yeah, Andrea, yeah, so what's actually kind of cool is this template actually has really good documentation. So if you go to the website, the creator actually tells you exactly what tags to add in order to make things happen. So it's really cool, and I can share the website again because I think it's worth visiting, just to see how well it's written. And they tell you, if we go home, they tell you exactly how to use the various elements. So that's the website there for this template. And they tell you, let's see, where is it? Menu. If you go to menu, like they tell you exactly how to use every single element in the template, like to make it work the way that you want. It's so cool. I know. I love it so much. Guitar guy, what are you trying to build? I can't guarantee that I can help, but maybe I can point you in an appropriate direction. Okay, I'm going to turn my webcam back on. We got the timer down. We only got a couple more things to do, and then we will be done. And for those of you who just came back, I was just showing that on the website for this particular template, so not my app, but the actual template that we're using, they give you a whole bunch of options for various layouts, how to use images, how to use colors and fonts, buttons, animations. Like you can make this look however you would like. And the person that wrote it is just an amazing human being. And it's just so cool. And their documentation is super good. So for example, like for buttons, they tell you exactly how to get like the kind of button that you want. And what just literally the exact HTML that you would need in order to do that. It's so good. So anyway, back to our app. So here we are. We need to do a couple more things. We need to assign the elements from our JSON and put them in the appropriate list location, right? We also need to add in the image that we're getting from our JSON and the appropriate caption. So guitar guy, if you're still there, I'm happy to help you. I just need to know what you need help with. Okay. Get back to the right file. There we go. So inside of our you want to be a programmer. Okay. Well, we are all in a course right now called 100 Devs. And we're all learning together how to be full stack web developers. So if you're interested in doing, we don't necessarily do hacking, but we do web development. So you can do, oh, you found Leon. Okay, good. Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to suggest is that you join in on the course. Yeah. Join in on 100 devs with us. And you can do ! Leon if you would like, the Twitch and the Discord. You can start anytime, guitar guy. There's no limitation. there's a channel called Catch Up Crew on our Discord, which is folks who are just getting started now. So you can join them. All right. So let's add in our individual elements to our list. So inside of our JavaScript, essentially, we're just going to want to add some additional lines here where we essentially create the inner text of our individual elements. So it's going to be a little bit copy paste, but we'll get through it. So I'm just going to we could do a query selector. In this case, I'm just going to do get element by ID. That's kind of what is in my brain. But element by ID, we're going to grab each list element by its ID name and drop the inner text in appropriately. Oh yeah, check out the link that Piece of Shoot just provided there as far as the catch up to help you catch up on the homeworks. The Discord, I don't know how to get you in there without a phone number. Honestly, I don't know if there's a better way to enter. If you could always get like a burner phone number if you really need to, like a disposable phone number that might help get you into the Discord. Maybe like I'm sure there's a way online you can get burner phone numbers that you could just use once and then throw away. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure of a better way to do it. Oh yeah, Google Voice. That's a good suggestion, Chad. Use Google Voice and get a phone number that way. That way you don't have to share it with anybody and it's just associated with Google Voice. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're going to get element by ID. The first one is alien name. And then we're going to assign the inner text. And that's going to be equal to, now, if I want to extract a property from inside of my data, if I want to get the species name from inside of my data, there's a couple ways I can do it. I could use dot notation or bracket notation. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use dot notation. I don't really need the brackets. So I'm going to do data.species name. And what that'll do is it'll go into the object that we got back. Remember, we looked at the object inside of our console. And it'll go into that object and it'll look for the species name and it'll pull it out and it will assign it as the inner text of our HTML, right? I think we've all probably done that before at this point. And if you haven't, well, you're going to get some practice because we've got multiple list items to fill in, right? We've got the world, features, facts, examples, and then we're going to have the image and we're going to have the caption, right? So we've got the world. We've got the features. Can't spell features. We've got the facts. And then all this is doing, right, is just associating the appropriate text element with the appropriate element of our data. And homeworld, features, interesting fact, notable examples, and so that'll do it for the text. And then for the actual image, we have to make things look a little differently, right? If I want to set if I want to, like, let's say I have a URL that links directly to an image, how do I assign that inside of an image tag? How do I tell my image tag, hey, go to this URL and grab the image? What do I do? So I can't use inner text, right? That's not going to work. But what do I set it to? Oh my gosh. Hey, Rascal. We have been having some fun. Wait until we show you what we've built. It is pretty friggin' cool. All right. Rascal is here. Nice. All right. Yes, we want to set it to source, right? And so in that case, we're gonna assign it to that image, which is a URL. And the very last thing we're gonna do is just, so we can leave this as let's see. That's going to be alien image. and alien caption. Those are the last two things that we need to do. And that should be good to go. So that was a little tedious, but it's okay. We got through it, right? Now let's see how it looks in the browser. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and close my timer so we can have this be full screen. Okay. So this is our Rascal. This is our cool app that we've built. So let's see if it works. I want Vulcans. I'm going to get that info. Hey, there we go. We get all the info about Vulcans. Let's see, humans. I think I may have put my image in the wrong place, but that's all right. I think it looks decent. Yep. Yeah, so there's the caption. So you can see the caption did change. It says humans. Now let's do Gorn because I love them. Hey, Gorn. I did not design this front end. No way, Jose. Indeed. No, I did not. This is from a wonderful site called thelcars.com. I will happily share it again because it is worth sharing. There you go. I didn't design the front end. No, we designed the back end. We did all of the back end work ourselves. The front end, the CSS, the styling, that is not us. But I think Piece of Shootout here is wanting me to take credit. But I this person who built this, go to their contact, check them out on Twitter. They deserve all of the credit. Anywho, yes. So we can do Trill. The image takes a minute. There we go. Got the image. What else do we have? We have Klingons. This can be we can do capital letters too. Klingons. Yeah. That's Christopher Lloyd, by the way, if you didn't know. Like the Back to the Future guy. The professor or whatever his face from Back to the Future. That's Christopher Lloyd. Great Scott. Indeed. It is him. Yes. Oh, good guitar guy. No, this is not SQL. Actually, that's a very good question. This is JSON. So we're using JSON objects. We're using objects to grab this data, and we're storing it in objects in JSON objects on a Heroku backend. Yeah. Good question though, and I think eventually we're probably going to be moving this stuff to a Mongo database. But right now it's just it's kind of hard coded in a Heroku app, in a Heroku API. But I think we'll eventually probably be moving it to Mongo if we want to make bigger APIs. Yeah. You try to fix what happens if you don't write it with a plural. Yeah. You probably have to do some kind of like yeah, gotta get, I guess, just ignore the S maybe. Yeah. And check your server. You're going to have to change the server side code then too, because well, it depends. Yeah, it just depends on how you approach it, right? Be mindful of what the server is looking for, I guess, is what I would say. When you finish all the classes that Leon did, you really learned all. And well, the next step is to get a job. Yeah, which is the whole goal of this. The goal is, yeah, partially to learn to code, but for most folks in here in the class, it's to end up with a job. And be getting paid. I'm fortunate that I already have a dev job. I'm taking the course with the goal to learn more about coding, but a lot of folks who are in this are in it to win it as far as getting a job. So a lot of the courses also not only just focused on learning to code, but also focused on getting a job. So that's the benefit of this course. So you'll discover that as you go through it. Yeah. Exactly. 100 Devs also gives you plenty of instructions on how to market yourself in the job market and become employed as a developer, as a full stack engineer in the tech industry. So we are in it to win it indeed. Yes. And part of being in it to win it involves building Star Trek applications, which I am very happy about. Yeah. All right. So let's see. I think that's. I think we tested all of our different alien species. However, what I'm excited about is that I'm assuming on Thursday we're going to talk about how to build like larger APIs. Um, you know, like actual database based APIs, right? Because right now our API is essentially hard coded into our server.js file. So instead of acting like a middleman, servers normally act like a middleman, right? They grab requests from the client and then they go and grab stuff from the database, and they serve as the middleman that's passing that information back and forth. Right now, our server, our Heroku server, is kind of acting like both the database and the middleman. And so I think we're going to be expanding this in the very near future so that it's going to store that data in a database instead of directly in the server file. Yeah. As far as like as far as like development methodologies and that kind of thing, I think we're going to get to that eventually. We're only about halfway through the class so far. Um, so I think that sort of thing is coming. We just haven't got to it yet. Yeah, Andrea, I'm glad this worked for you. I kind of decided to approach this in a slightly different way, like I said before, separating out the two projects. In one into the server side, project, and the other into the app side, the client side project, and I think it worked out pretty well. So I'm glad it worked. Yay! Good guitar guy. Before you make any judgments right off the bat, I would highly suggest that you watch a few of the classes because Leon does talk about that. I'm not going to explain it here. I'm not Leon. Before you make some snap judgments, I would suggest that you watch the first few classes and see if it might work for you. If it doesn't, that's fine. But I'm not going to try to sell it to you here. It's up to you to make your own judgments. Yeah, Kai, thanks for coming. Yeah, we're about done anyway. Um, you're welcome to ask. I'm just going to say that I would suggest, watch the first few classes on YouTube. And I'm never going to, I'm not punishing you for asking. I'm just saying I don't feel comfortable about answering that specific question. Thanks, Pink. Okay, does anybody else have any questions about this particular project? What we've just done here. Again, exclamation point GitHub. If you want to see the code, if you're having any trouble. I think with what we've done tonight, I think we should be set for Thursday as far as we have Heroku, right? We have Heroku, we've got Node, we've done Express. I think we've kind of got what we need. Yeah, Chad, I agree. 100 Devs gives you a community that you really can't find anywhere else. It's the most wholesome place I've ever seen on the internet, I think. That's why I'm still here. If it wasn't wholesome, I would have been out if I wasn't feeling positive about it, I would have been gone ages ago. Like I said, because I'm not looking for a job. I'm just here to learn. If you want to grind, there's plenty of lessons you can grind on Guitar Guide here for 100 Devs. There's plenty of content. It just you decide how fast you go. Absolutely. Rascal is a present. He's a Star Trek and web devs sold. Thanks, MovePad. Yeah, I love Star Trek. I'd do more apps on it if I could think of them. Chad, I've tried to pick up programming for a while, but the community at 100 devs is the first time I've actually felt like I could do it. Me too, honestly. Like, I'm employed as a dev, right? I learned everything on the job, but whenever I tried to teach myself outside of work, it never stuck until now. So, yeah, go for it, guitar guy. Jump in. You can start anytime. I'm not going to say no. Go ahead. Hit up those YouTube videos and start going for it. The 100 devs YouTube videos, they're all there. You can dive right in. Watch them at 2x speed if you want. You got plenty. You said you got a lot of days there, so speed them up 2x if you want to. Oh, did I miss a question from Cavi? Oh, need to go back and rewatch my CRUD stream. Yeah, so that's available on the Twitch channel. You can see how we did the CRUD app there. Yeah, Andrea, thanks for stopping in. Oh, got to know what my shirt says? It says more dogs, less people. It's not because I don't like people. I just really like dogs. So, all right. So I'm not seeing, let's see. Yeah, it's meant to look like Supreme. Yeah. I'm not that kind of, I'm not that kind of like fashionista. Job selling. Uh, um, Not sure I fully understand your question, but really it's about making yourself as having the appropriate skill set and making yourself as marketable as possible to potential employers. So Leon has about a decade or more of experience in getting people jobs in the tech industry. Like, and he's led paid boot camps for years, and so now he's leading this free boot camp. Um, and it's completely free, and he's applying all of his experience to help folks get jobs in the tech industry by teaching them the appropriate skills that are just the skills that are marketable, nothing that you don't need. And also how to build your resume, how to build your LinkedIn, how to build your GitHub, how to build your Twitter, how to build all those things that employers are going to look for. So it's not just about the coding, it's more about the peripherals as well, how to network, how to be on Twitter, how to be on LinkedIn, how to be on GitHub, like I say. Yeah. How do we, let's see, how can we make the species name a selection for those of us who don't know all the groups? Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Rascal. Yeah, so that's a good suggestion, Rascal. I would say that you want a selector. Yeah, you want a selector with options that would be a drop down, like a drop down menu, right? Yeah. The problem, Guitar Guy, the problem with a lot of those sites is they aren't going to pay you what you're worth. You want a job that's going to pay you what you're worth. You don't want someone who is judging your skills and then offering you what they think you're worth. You want employers competing to pay you a lot of money, and you're not going to get that from those types of sites, Guitar Guy. Endpoint on the server. Yeah, Rascal's given some good options there. I'm going to defer to Rascal on that one. Yeah, and so that's another good option piece of shoot. You could get an array. You can get an array of all the option names, um, and then append each to an option tag. That's a good suggestion too. So you don't have to do it manually. You can do it by looping through an array of all the options. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, Guitar Guy. Is that I can't fully articulate it, but Leon goes through why a lot of those options that you talk about, like the sites that say you are guaranteed a job, like why those are. Yeah, you might get a job, but they're going to be paying you pennies when you should be making dollars. They're not going to be paying you what you're worth. Yeah. So you want a job that's going to pay you good money, not just a job that is easy, like that you can easily get. You want a job that's going to be paying you what you are worth. Yep. Okay. Um, you could have an API that returns the list of items to select. Yeah. Yeah, there's several different ways you could do it. I kind of like the idea of the having the array and then mapping each item to an option. That's a cool idea. I like that item. I like that idea. Okay. Again, thank you all for your time tonight. How about we find someone to raid and make their evening? Um, yeah, free is always great, right? We love free. We love free stuff. Oh, hey, Antasha. Unfortunately, we're just um, wrapping up now, but we built this really cool app right here. As a reminder, um, please check out the person that created this template. Go to you can grab their Twitter if you want and follow them. They are Trekkie Jim on Twitter. Um, don't spam them. Be nice, but do maybe thank them for this wonderful template. And Trekkie Jim, they also just adopted a dog. So it's a very cute dog. I checked them out earlier. Oh, Leah's on? Okay, we can always raid Leah. Hey, that's awesome, guitar guy. Yeah, I hope you can come back someday and just be a total amazing code whiz. Yeah. I mean, you could ask how they made the template, Amelia. You could ask how they made it on Twitter. They might answer. I don't know. Okay, let's see. I would imagine it seems like just the way that CSS was generated, it seems like auto-generated or something. But maybe they have a graphics program that can do it for them. I'm going to open a new window here. I'm going to get the raid going before everybody leaves because I want to bootstrap it. Yeah, maybe so. Okay. 2 seconds. Go raid. Go raid. Working on it. Bear with me. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay. I love it. I love when we have choice. I love when we have choices of people to raid. All right, so I've got Lana Lux, we've got Techie Girl, and Leah. Do we want to raid Leah? Is that the consensus? Yeah, feel free to take your Leah. Okay, let's do Leah. Yeah, I figured. Okay, I'm setting up the raid now. Leah. Yeah, there's so many possibilities, right, guitar guy? Absolutely. Okay, let me see if everybody's ready. Yes, and we are going to raid now, and I will see you all again on Sunday. Thanks for the fun time tonight, guys. See you soon.